Soft light slips across the land, morning mercy in your hand. Wake the heart, open the eyes, feel the spirit start to rise. Wake up to the revival, let his love come down and fill. New day, new hope, new fire. Wake up to the revival. Gentle breeze through garden trees, whispers of a life set free. Come on home, the table's set. Jesus hasn't left us yet. Wake up to the revival, let his love come down and fill. New day, new hope, new fire. Wake up to the revival. No more sleeping through the call. He's still speaking after all. Country roads and open skies lead us straight to where he lies. Wake up to the revival, let his love come down and fill. New day, new hope, new fire. Wake up to the revival. Raise the banner, lift the praise. He's still moving in these days. Hearts on fire from shore to shore. Feel the spirit more and more. Revival, yeah, more revival. Revival.
How good and pleasant it is when brothers dwell together in unity. Good morning, fellow faithful. Today is Wednesday, August the 26th. You're tuning into the Garden Project Radio right here on YouTube, and today is Watch Party Wednesday. In case you caught that thumbnail, we're going to be somehow going back to a 1v20 again. Audience requested, peer approved. We're going to dive into pro-life versus pro-choice. But before we get into today's show this morning, we're going to start the morning off the way we always should, which is in prayer to our Father in heaven. So if you can safely do so wherever you're at, please close your eyes, bow your heads, and join your brothers and sisters across the nation in prayer this morning. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the Holy Spirit, forever. Amen. Amen, and good morning once again, everyone who is down here. Y'all know what we're going to do. For the ones who are here early in the morning, able to catch it every single time, it is time for that real estate roll call, so go ahead and drop where you're coming in today down in the comment section if you do not mind. First one in the chat we had this morning was Eric Romine. Says good morning, TGP. Well, good morning to you as well, Eric. Thank you very much for joining us today. Steven, I saw you said that your son wants to become an A-10 pilot. I saw that in the comment section as we were getting ready for the show today. Fun fact for you, pretty much every single Army helicopter pilot would love to fly the A-10 because the A-10 is not a fixed-wing platform, you understand. We have not broken the rules and gone from rotary to fixed-wing and started supporting our fixed-wing brethren. We don't do that. See, the A-10 is not actually a plane. It is, in fact, a gun with wings drawn around it. That's really it. Everyone loves those things. They sound fantastic. Hopefully he gets an opportunity to do that sometime in his lifetime. We got Karen Grego 2476 coming from the wonderful Garden State of New Jersey. We got Rhonda Evans 2017 rolling in from North Carolina. Thank you very much, Rhonda, for joining us yesterday during the office hours. It was a pleasure seeing you there, ma'am. We appreciate your presence. We have April Trude 8214, the cult leader herself, coming from Lakeland, Florida. Ma'am, how's the family doing? How the tiny humans doing? How's the husband doing? How the rest of the family doing? The immediate family members in the area. Hopefully you are blessed today, ma'am. Thank you very much for joining us. We do greatly appreciate it. We got Julia Haynes, 2485, coming from the grand state of Tennessee, the volunteer state of Tennessee, wearing the armor of God today and looking forward to the conversation we most certainly hope. Julia, I heard this is a good one. That's what everyone tells me. So hopefully it'll be better than what we had last week. We got Laura Nolan over here, 9447. How we doing, ma'am? God bless you. Thank you very much for joining us today from Kentucky. I don't remember what Kentucky State's called. I got nothing for Kentucky. You got to teach me, Laura. You got to teach me. I don't know anything about your state and what it is known for outside the fact that the colonel comes from Kentucky. I don't even know if that's true. It just sounds great because Kentucky Fried Chicken. Help me out, ma'am, if you do not mind. We got David C. Eddy coming from the U.S. Naval Academy, Annapolis, in Maryland. Good morning to you, sir. Good morning to that pup over there who's got the snoring issue. Hopefully, y'all are both blessed today along with your son and your wonderful wife. Terry Cisco 46 says good morning and also lets us know that they're coming from the wonderful state of Tennessee. Well, good morning to you, Terry. Truthfully, hope you're blessed today. Hopefully, you're ready for the conversation. I like Florida. I like Floridas. I like Wednesdays. Don't like Florida. I like Wednesdays because Wednesdays are kind of like a sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Hopefully don't get too triggered while you're doing it, and hopefully we can learn something about what other individuals are talking about. We've got Eric Romand over here from Oklahoma where it's going to be 60 degrees all day long. And you're not leaving the car. 60 degrees, that's not too bad. It's still a little warm, but that's not too bad. It's better than whatever the rest of y'all are dealing with in the country, so hopefully you do enjoy that opportunity. We got I am Hunter over here, 4343, says good morning from Walnut Cove. How we doing this morning, Hunter? We're pushing through. We're pumping. Thank you as well for joining the office hours yesterday, along with Eric. He was there also. I do appreciate you sliding in there. I feel like we were able to get a lot of stuff done yesterday, and so I appreciate you flexing for that new time slot that we have. We got Jane Facto, 4575, with a wonderful smile over here coming from Lakewood, Ohio. Good morning to you, ma'am. Are you ready for the watch party today? I think that everyone is looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully you're looking forward to it, but either way, I'm happy that you were here with us, ma'am. We have Jess Major, the Major herself, coming from the Floridas. From Florida. So I didn't realize there's more than one Florida down there. I had no idea. Thank you for letting us know, ma'am. Nope. Not going back to it. It's too late. You already made the mistake. Right, we're going to just go ahead and call it Floridas from now on. Thank you very much, Jess Major. I do appreciate you, ma'am. We have Eden Legacy with Jesse. Thank you very much, Jesse, for joining us this morning from Northern Georgia. Don't worry. We know about the peach. We do very much appreciate that. Careful with that, though. One of your sisters in Christ got banned yesterday from the live. We're putting time out, I suppose you should say, because she was talking a little bit of smack. All right, so just be careful with that. You Georginians are on a very, very short leash today. Let me keep on sliding down here and see what we got. I'll get to your question in just 1 second, Lily, if you don't mind. Thank you for being here today. We got Arizona in the house, 87 with the high of 117. That's disgusting. A 30-degree spread is abysmal to have at this time of the year, but you love Arizona. I don't want to see that face down there. I want to see nothing but sunshines and rainbows from you. You love Arizona, right? You swear up and down, even though you actually don't, that Arizona is such a wonderful place. That's okay. You enjoy that 117 degrees. I'm curious what it feels like today in Arizona. Because if the high is 117 degrees, you know it has to feel like 130 outside. And you know what? If you like it, I love it. But you know what? I'm not going down there. You have fun with that one. I'll see you in the wintertime frame. We got Steven Z2H coming from Red Wing, Minnesota, not Minneapolis. Understand that Red Wing is directly outside of Minneapolis. It's a little subdivision of Minneapolis. So Steven's basically a city guy. Y'all let Steven know he's city folk. That's what he really is. Love this picture, by the way. I saw you posted it on Facebook as well. We absolutely approved that because it was outstanding. Can y'all give some love to this picture down here? Right, y'all see the Viking hat on? I think that's absolutely wonderful. It's probably because he's from Minnesota and they don't know any better. But I love this picture, truthfully, Steven. And thank you as well for joining us yesterday during the office hours. I hope that that was effective for you all on the prayer team. I feel like it was. Thank you, sir, for joining us today. We got Joe Q, 66, living the American dream from Northwestern New Jersey, in the house this morning. Well, God bless you, ma'am. Thank you very much for joining us today. Hopefully you're doing blessed up there in the only portion of New Jersey that doesn't have tall skyscrapers and disgustingness. Keep that spot secret. You don't want them to find it because you know those New Jersey people will come up there and they'll take it away from you. You don't want that one. We got Bluegrass State from Julia Haynes, 2485. Is that what it's known for? Kentucky's the Bluegrass State? Is that what you're telling me? Julie, you're going to have to remind me about that like 500 times. There's no way I remember that. That one's just not going to stick in the mind, right? Like Bluegrass State, that's not going to come up there. Right, we got Ollie Shaziz, 58 degrees, now going to 81 in Pennsylvania. Still disgusting, but I do appreciate you being here. That's right, the Ark Encounter is there. It's not the Ark Encounter State, though. I'm going to try and remember Bluegrass State to the best of my abilities. I'm going to forget that every single day, Laura. You're going to have to beat that into my head, right? You're just going to have to just grab me and say, AT, you're going to learn this one today. We got Indiana House from Nanny's Take on the World. God bless you, man. Thank you very much for joining us. Where's Hadassah? Anybody seen Hadassah? Anybody pop a flare in the sky, right? We haven't seen Hadassah in such a long time. I thought she loved us. We love her. Hopefully she wants to come back and join us. I want you to tell your daughter that I cried. All right, that AT cried live in front of everybody today because he just realized that you don't come in here anymore. And I want you tell her it was an ugly cry too, like snot coming out of my nose and everything. Like not even like I feel bad for him cry, just like I wish he would stop kind of cry, like just wailing because she wasn't here. I just want to see if she doesn't believe you. I know she probably won't, but just let her know I do care that much though. I absolutely could. Right, we got Southern Maryland in the house from my man Teddy Marcel. God bless you, sir. 007 himself over there, stacking bodies in the name of Christ. Amen. Right, that's what I'm assuming. That's what James Bond does. I guess this is gonna be a new James Bond. I lost track after Pierce Brosnan. That's my James Bond. Okay, let's keep on going through here real quick. I'm looking. Did Eminem learn her lesson? No. Eminem ain't never learned her lesson before. Never learned her lesson. I know she's able to get back in here. That's what matters. But I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, no. She has never in her life ever learned a lesson. That's okay. Let me see here. I got one question up here. Let me see. Do y'all know who's a beast? Amanda Simpson lives in Alabama and doesn't use air conditioning by choice. That's interesting. That's it. Let's simulate Europe. Hey, I tell people to do it all the time. You want to respect the fact you live in the United States, kick off that AC for a month and see if you can do it. Hey, respect it, man. Are you in the house today? Good morning to you if you are. Let me see. We have close your mouth. Close your mouth. You did it yourself. You even admitted that you did it to yourself. I don't want to hear it. I really don't want to hear it. Quick question for you all. Lily, in the house still, ma'am. Right? Lily Smith, come on down. Lily, if you're still down there, go ahead and drop a hand up there. It's going to depend on if you're here or not. Will dictate how in-depth I get to this answer. I'm going to slide right by that bad boy. If you are not here, I'm going to make sure you get a chance to hear the answer. But if you are not here, Lily Smith, and you were just scrolling on through, well, I hope you have a blessed day, ma'am. I truthfully do. Hopefully, it's nothing but sunshines and rainbows for you as well as we dive into that one. I give her about 30 seconds, but while I do, let's go ahead to the live guidelines. So you all are still tracking. This space is a space for biblical Christians, grounded in Scripture, and we aim to reflect Christ in everything that we do here. We don't attack people. We don't argue just to tear someone down. Disagreement is okay. We don't run from it, but we answer with clarity, patience, and real respect. A lot of folks tuning in right now are still exploring, still asking questions, just watching to see what does real faith actually look like, and the way we respond might be the very first reflection of Christ that they have ever seen. So it's about time that Christians in this nation lived up to that. We're going to keep this space clean. We're going to stay focused. We're going to stay kind, stay disciplined, and we're going to build some people up today. You all are. So above everything else, we follow the word of God, and that should show not just in what we say, but in how we say it as well. For those of you who are down here, we have a fantastic moderation team. They're here in the morning, they're here in the evening time frame, they're here during the day. I assure you they do not sleep, and they're making sure that you all have a fantastic experience while you all come in here. If you ever wonder, how is it, AT, that we can slide into this live, and unlike everywhere else, we're not getting screamed at. We're not always hearing about individuals who just want to question everything that we do. Well, it's not because of me, it's because of the mod team. So can I get some love and some support for the wonderful mods that are up 5 days a week and staying up late 5 days a week just to make sure that you all have a fantastic experience. Drop whatever emoji you want to have down there. It's Wednesday. Let's get weird if you don't mind, and show some support for that fantastic moderation team. Hadassah, we love you so much that it's okay. That's how much we love Hadassah in the house over here. We're going to let this one slide, okay? You missed the crying, and that's okay. Your mom will tell you about it later on. I'm just happy to see that you are here, that you're smiling, you're doing well, the family's doing awesome. I just like to check every once in a while. That's all that it is, Hadassah. I see a lot of the emojis coming down there. My man Stephen Black Music did not want to tell us he's from Wyoming today, but he's in the house as well. God bless you, Stephen. Thank you very much for your service in the United States Air Force. And I don't think I missed anybody else down there, but I love the support for the mods. I love what I'm seeing down here. That's absolutely fantastic. Y'all, before we dive into the show today and hit that watch party, I do want to get it started sooner rather than later because I'm not going to ever be able to watch the entire thing. And I want to get as far as we absolutely can. Goodness gracious, I really do talk fast, don't I? My goodness, I just heard it for a second. I just heard it's like, dang, when does this dude breathe? Honestly, no wonder my mouth is so dry at the end of every single one of these shows. It's because I have no liquidation going down there, and that's okay. We're just going to choke to death one day on the show. That'll be fun for you all in your nightmares in the future, right? So anyways, we're going to come down to this one right here. Right, my sister over here, Lily Smith. I don't know if you're a sister, honestly, but I'm just going to go ahead and say, ma'am, how we doing today? She asked, is God above gender? Why refer to... She said them as he, right? A little bit of trying to do a presupposition in that question. So first of all, is God above gender? Well, God is above everything because he created everything. Where you're getting hung up on is the gender of it all. You probably operate in a world where you genuinely believe that gender is different than sex, a concept that has only been popularized within the last 100 years, actually. Top of my head, I want to say 1952. Don't quote me on that one, but plus or minus a few years from there, you're taking a concept that has been newer, not been proven, has become popularized by media, was created based off of faulty research, right? You can go back and look at it. His name is Money's the last name. Like I want to say like James, John, something like that. It's not top of my head, right? But go back and look at it, see where that's coming from, right? God is very much a he, absolutely, because if you go back to the Bible, it talks about make them in our image, right? And so we know that God created man in his image. Therefore, as we describe sex, not gender, that's a made-up human concept. I know it's hard to hear that because people have been told, feel how you want to feel, and we have not been taught about sin, right? But yes, God is very much above gender. He is above all things, actually. So we refer to him as he simply because he told us to refer to him as a he because he is a he, right? I would encourage you, ma'am, go look into gender. Go check it out. Why not, right? Go see where does that actually come from. Instead of saying these things, we should ask ourselves, why do we say the things that we say? Where do we get that from? And be willing to look at that. Something that may be a little bit challenging to look at, be willing to look at it anyway so you can educate yourself and grow. I would never want anybody to walk every single day in their life not knowing the things that they champion so strictly. I appreciate you being here, though. Thank you very much for that one. Y'all, we're going to slide into AT. What you say here, Miss Queenie? I just listened to last night's show earlier tonight and was going to put it on a higher speed and remembered I didn't have to. That's mean. I'm kidding, Queenie. I appreciate that, though. I know I talk incredibly fast. I'm going to try and slow down just one day. See, Hadassah? Teddy's telling the truth. Teddy's telling the truth, right? That's how much we care, Hadassah. That's how much we care. I had to clean my eyes up and everything. What does the girl say? My mascara was running. Did I get that right? Your blush is running? I don't know. Y'all's makeup is weird. Y'all, we're going to dive into the show for today. And today, I asked the group yesterday during the office hours if you were one of the individuals that showed up yesterday, the Melinda Erics, Luis, the Michelle, the Julies, the Jessicas, the Glendas, the Hunters. If you're one of those individuals that showed up yesterday, your name has been dropped into the bucket. We'll do a drawing on Friday just for the individuals who showed up to the office hours, who are continuing to show up between today and tomorrow. For those of you who weren't there, you still got a chance to get your name into the bucket. We'll be doing those office hours at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time from now on. But they decided yesterday they want to do another 1v20. I told them I don't like 1v20s. I think they're awful. People don't get a chance to really respond back at that point, and you don't get a tete-a-tete. But they were like, no, we want to do it anyways because we heard that this was a good conversation. So we're going to try it one last time, y'all. If this 1v20 is not either A, educational, B, entertaining, or C, it just annoys me, this will be the last 1v20 that we watch on this show. But we're going to give it another shot here, and once again, we're going to the Dr. Daff Show. For those individuals who are not familiar with Dr. Daff, she has a wonderful platform. It is spelled Dr. space D-A-F, Dr. Daff, not that complicated. And she did a very recent video. I think this is her most recent one to date. It is 1 pro-choice individual versus 20 pro-life individuals. And I was hoping that I'm not going to get disappointed, right, like I did last time. Not disappointed in the 20 individuals. I was more disappointed last time because they didn't have a lot of time to really respond back. But Evidently, this is a good one. And I will tell you all, these are easy conversations. These are very easy conversations. I know oftentimes we can get intimidated by having the conversation about abortion because the individuals on the stereotypical left, secular, liberal, atheist individuals are so incredibly passionate about this. That is why the conversation has been pushed so much. Good morning to you, Christine Hayden. What up, ma'am? How we doing today? Right? But we have to be willing to have these conversations. They have been, good morning to you, Cold Steel Rails. They have been so used to, if I can give enough emotionality behind what I say, if I can just get mad enough behind what it is that I'm talking about, then I'm going to win. And that's what's been working to this point in time. We've been using concepts like women's rights, knowing full and well it's nowhere listed as a right, but it sounds good. It sounds great. So they've led with that. They don't understand concepts like where does life begin? And they've used that as a champion and point. But I will let you all know, show of hands if you agree with this. Would anybody who's had these conversations agree that they typically don't actually know what they're talking about? They typically don't have research associated with what they're discussing. They haven't looked into it before, and they're unprepared to usually have a conversation beyond, I feel like I should do it, along with the emotional responses that you typically get, like what about rape? What about incest? What about all these horrible things that could happen? What are you talking about? That's wild. Do you want a child to be born into a bad environment? Usually these emotional responses are what you get. And so we're going to take a look here today, if you all don't mind, at Dr. Daff, 1 pro-choice versus 20 pro-life individuals. What we're going to do for today, because I want to make sure that we are still continuing to raise for the Garden Project, it's every single section we will stop, and I'm going to ask you all a couple of questions about what you think about it, and I'm just going to blab for you a little bit in between the segments. If anybody has sent a super chat or a super sticker, I will read those after every single segment, and then we're going to keep on pumping through. Good morning to you, Lady Nitro. God bless you. Thank you for being here. We're going to keep on pumping and keep on pushing through. So if you would like to have something interjected into the conversation at the end of every single section, super chats and super stickers are greatly appreciated. All proceeds go to the Garden Project. We are registered as a nonprofit with YouTube, and so therefore all that money does go directly to the organization, so you can ensure that the stuff that you donate, tithe, or give are going to be utilized for the body of Christ. We're going to dive into it today. Thank you all once again for being here. Y'all hit that like button if you don't mind, and let's just sit back and relax for a wonderful Watch Party Wednesday. Once again, here's Dr. Daff, 1 pro-choice versus 20 pro-life.
A baby and does not deserve full constitutional protections.
The scientific consensus for when life begins is fertilization.
Taking care of your baby and neglect is very different than murdering your baby.
That doesn't give her the right to kill her baby.
Constitution doesn't say that babies get rights as personhood.
Using religion to justify a pro-life argument is unconstitutional. That's
so if
all that I
there was a
want.
source that said human life begins at fertilization, would you be pro-life?
You have every right to not believe in God, but you do not have the right to act as God and decide who lives or dies.
No matter how you argue it, you're still going to be coming from someone's worldview and someone's morality.
Now we go according to the history and tradition standard.
Republicans are pro-birth, not pro-life.
I really didn't care if somebody was on the left or the right.
75 to 80% of couples will choose to go the hospice route because this was a baby they were planning on having.
So if you got cancer, should I just kill you now because you're gonna die? You might die.
Science can be wrong. The doctors can be wrong.
Abortion bans violate women's constitutional rights.
Where does the word abortion appear in the Constitution?
We just want to know why you don't agree with it.
The solution to the abuse that she has endured is not to add more trauma through abortion. Women bear the bulk of what it takes to bring a child into the world.
Abortion bans are sexist, racist, and classist.
Are you interested in banning abortion post-viability?
I'm sorry, are those the questions that they're about to go through right now? They're about to feast on this woman. Those aren't even hard questions for an abortion conversation. Oh, this is going to be good, y'all. I should get some popcorn for this morning. They're about to absolutely rip her apart. In the crowd, come on now.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Dr. Daff Show. I'm your host, Dr. Michelle Daff. Today I'm sitting here with 1 pro-choice woman, Naima, with 20 pro-life women. Naima came up with her own prompts today. How are you feeling?
Oh, I'm feeling great.
Yes? Okay, well I'm gonna have you go ahead and just take it away.
Okay, my first prompt is, a fetus is not a baby and does not deserve full constitutional protections.
I'd want to get up for every single question that she has. I couldn't contain myself if I was here. Could not do it.
I'm Noelle.
I'm Maya.
I'm Shayla.
I'm Yasmin.
Okay, hi ladies. So I chose this prompt mainly because of the kind of equal protections movement that's been going on in pro-life circles, this belief that a fetus is the same as a human that has already been born. I disagree with that, and I don't believe that they deserve full protections under the law.
So I think we need to clarify a little bit. As a pro-lifer, I don't believe that a fetus is valuable because they're a baby. I believe they're valuable because they are an innocent human being. The scientific consensus for when life begins is fertilization. That is what 96% of biologists agree from across 1,000 different academic institutions, is when the beginning of a new, unique human being's life begins. Not just human cells, not just a human life, but a new, unique human being.
So if I could just jump in there is no scientific consensus on when life begins. There is not.
So this is from the National Institute of Health. The scientific consensus is that 96% of biologists agree that a new, unique human being's life begins at fertilization.
I'm sorry, love, that's just not true.
But it is. I just gave you the source. Do you have a dispute? When do you believe that a fetus becomes a human?
Well, I don't believe that I can say when a life begins. I don't believe that anyone in this room can say that when a life begins. I think that the only one who can really say when a life begins is God. And though it's not stated, because it's not stated in the Bible, and there is no scientific consensus, we can sit here and argue about something theoretical that none of us know, or we can argue what is known. And what is known is that a fetus is not viable until around 23 to 24 weeks. The youngest ever was 20 weeks, but a fetus generally is not viable, meaning it can't survive outside of the womb until 23 weeks.
So what is a fetus if they aren't a human being? Because humans can only create other humans via reproduction.
A fetus is a human because it has human cells, but it doesn't deserve legal personhood, right? That's what we're talking about here. We're not talking about when life begins, because we can all have different definitions of that, and no one knows for sure. What we are talking about is legal personhood under the law. I do not think that something that is not yet a person, cannot speak for itself, does not have the capacity to sustain conscience or viability without the life of the mother, can be assigned the same constitutional rights as someone who can.
So then do you define personhood by people's ability to live on their own or their ability to speak? You yourself right now said that it's about someone being able to speak or someone being able to exist on their own. Is that how you define someone's worth or personhood?
No, that's not how I define someone's worth or personhood. I define someone's worth or personhood based on the 14th Amendment. So in the 14th Amendment, that's our right to life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, all these things. We like them, right? Right? Yes. So I define personhood based on the first sentence of the 14th Amendment. It says all persons born or naturalized, right?
Can I interject here for just a second?
No. Because a fetus has not been born, it cannot be given the same constitutional value as a human who has been born or naturalized in the U.S. Now, if you would like to respond to that.
So that's the citizenship clause, all persons born or naturalized. It's not actually a defining fact about when human life begins, because also it goes on to say that within the jurisdiction of the United States that no person shall be basically discriminated against under the law, right? All persons have a right to life, liberty, and due property life, liberty, and property. Sorry, I was talking a little too fast. And due process of the law, right? So with that being said, what you're saying is not implying that a fetus isn't a person, because legal personhood also classifies corporations. So we can also argue that. But my question,
that's actually a great point, because I disagree with corporate personhood. I think that's ridiculous too, because a corporation hasn't been born, a corporation isn't naturalized, and a corporation does not have the same consequences as a human being who is alive with a conscience who has to pay taxes does, right? And we recognize this in a lot of different ways, right? We recognize that a toddler doesn't have the right to vote. We recognize that there are levels to constitutional rights.
We're talking about basic human rights, which is the right to life. And so there's been plenty of times that the law, and I'm sure you would agree with this, that the law was not backing up the full rights that every human deserves. So for instance, at one point in time, there was in the Constitution not full rights for African Americans, right? But that doesn't mean that they didn't deserve it, because at the end of the day, they were a person, they were a human. And so we're talking about basic human rights.
I'm actually not talking about basic human rights. The prompt is constitutional protections, right? So I'm not talking
the right to life, right?
Constitutional protections, which would involve the right to life, liberty, right? The ability to own property without due process, right? So this isn't human rights, this is constitutional rights. I'm talking about the law and who has those rights based on our Constitution. A fetus does not have those rights yet because it has not been born. It's in the document. That is the point. And when you bring up slavery, the 14th Amendment was actually a Reconstruction Amendment that was written in response to the fact that slaves didn't have human rights. So this entire legislation that defines who has rights and who doesn't is because of that, because we recognize it in our past.
So when does the fetus begin to, in your opinion, get those rights to life?
The same equal constitutional protections as a human woman would be once it is born and naturalized as a U.S. citizen, once it gets a social security number, once it becomes a human being who is a fully, viable human being who is capable of sustaining life on their own, right?
So you're for third trimester abortions because they're not born yet?
I'm pro Roe v. Wade. The legislation around abortion, that is my stance, right? Which allows abortions up until 24 weeks of pregnancy with the singular exception for the life of the mother. Just so everyone knows my stance.
So if viability is your point, then why is that? Why is that when a baby can survive on its own, why is it that then their life is protected, but then when a baby still needs assistance to function, to develop, why is their life not protected? Because then if you're saying it's solely because of what the baby can do or what the baby can't do, that falls into a really slippery slope with a lot of individuals who cannot take care of themselves, who need caregivers, who don't have the ability to speak, who have other impairments.
That's actually a great question. So the reason why we define it based on viability is at 24 weeks, most people who are pregnant will know that they are pregnant, will have gotten an opportunity to get an abortion if they want that care, right? But the reason why we define it at viability is because up until that point, you're basically having to choose between a mother's ability to choose what she wants for her body and the fetus's, presumed right to life, right? But if you want me to answer your question, thank you. So, but after 24 weeks, you no longer have to make that choice, right? Once it's viable and it can be removed from the womb, right, and sustain life on its own, then you don't have to choose between the mother and the fetus. But as it stands right now, before viability, if a woman wants to have an abortion, she can't do that, and that's not acceptable.
So you brought up, between the mother and the child. Well, even after the baby is born, parents can still be charged with neglect laws. The parent is still in charge of taking care of their baby because that is their baby.
Absolutely, which is a great reason why women should have the right to choose whether or not they want to have
Taking care of your baby and neglect is very different than murdering your baby.
Well, it's not murdering, though, because you don't know when life begins. Nobody does.
Can you define murder?
Okay, yes. I mean, in my opinion, and based on the law, murder is the intentional killing of a human being, yes.
The scientific consensus is that a baby in the womb is a human being.
I know you keep harping on that, but again...
Well, do you agree that a fetus is a human being?
And everyone will see that there is not a scientific consensus.
Do you agree that a fetus is a human being?
I don't believe it's a fully, developed human being. It is a human being in the process
of development. It's a stage of development, right? Just like a child, a baby, an adult, a fetus is a stage of development.
Sure. So I'm glad you know that.
I just wanted to interject and ask a question. Do you believe that mothers have a unique moral duty to their children?
I do, which is why I believe that mothers should have the choice as to whether or not they should have those children, right?
So in my position, our position would be that the unique moral duty that we're talking about, that parents are owed to their children, is dependent on the standard of care that is necessary. So the reason why we're talking about viability or a newborn is because we understand, just like you understand, when a newborn is born, the mother is not the exclusive, uniquely dependent. But we're saying that that doesn't give her the right to kill her baby because in that situation, a mother can transfer, she's required legally and morally to safely transfer that responsibility to somebody else. But when she is pregnant, pre-viability, she cannot transfer that moral responsibility or act of care.
Exactly.
But you just said that you believe mothers have a moral duty to their children. So in this instance, the moral duty is to not intervene with violent legal force to kill her own child. Would you agree?
Okay, so here's the thing. I want to talk firstly about the language of killing babies, because I know this is going to come up a lot. Pro-lifers always like to say killing babies, killing babies, killing babies. It's not a baby. I know this from my debate with Charlie Kirk. We talked a lot about the definition of what a baby is and what it's not. A baby specifically means post-birth. So if you want to say killing a fetus, that's fine, but killing a baby is scientifically incorrect. So I would appreciate it if we don't use that language.
Right now, you just said that a fetus is a human being, correct?
But it's not a baby, right? If we're recognizing the stages of fetal development,
I agree
and
with
if we're recognizing the stages of life development, then saying killing a baby is different than saying killing a
Well,
fetus.
we're saying it's
and the
killing a
reason why you
human
use
being.
that language is to evoke an emotional response
No.
in the viewer.
I think that's really
right when it's
uncharitable.
actually disingenuous because that's not what it means.
But that's not what we're saying. We're saying that it's killing a human being, which you agree that it is a human being. It's a stage of development. So killing a fetus is killing a human being. And by your definition, that is murder because
Well,
you're
I
killing a
don't think
human being.
abortion is murder at all, actually. I mean, I think before viability, I don't believe abortion is murder because, again, I don't believe that we know exactly when life begins in the stages of fetal development. But what I do know is that, and depending on what stage you are in a pregnancy, you don't even know if your pregnancy is viable, right? So you can't assume that it's going to live because it could be ectopic, right? It could be a non-viable pregnancy. It could be a fatal fetal anomaly. You can't say for certain at every stage of pregnancy that it is going to become a viable baby at some point. But the reason why I don't believe abortion is murder up until 24 weeks is because I don't yet know that it's alive. So like that's kind of, you can't say that something is murder if it's not alive yet.
Well, the fetus is alive, and I know that you think that we don't have a consensus on when life begins, but the fetus does, the zygote actually, even at the earliest stages of human life, it metabolizes nutrients, it develops,
A
it
zygote is a
grows.
singular cell.
It's a singular cell that is totipotent is the term. So the entire genotype is oriented towards being able to, in its own it can self-sustain itself in the sense that it doesn't need outside instructions to do what it's about to do. And it's going to rapidly
But it does need outside
develop.
nutrients, right? It cannot sustain
It
life.
needs the nutrients of the mother,
It's
which
not
takes
yet
me
an
back to
independent
what
organism.
I feel like you
Everyone
didn't
needs
answer
nutrients,
earlier.
though. Even a baby does.
But it
That's
can't
not a good argument.
it cannot sustain life in any capacity without being inside of the mother's womb.
So is someone
She
not-
is providing nutrients, right?
Because that's its natural habitat. If you look at a human who is older, its natural habitat is needing oxygen,
Yes,
is needing
but it
certain
can like
foods. That's
breathe
its natural
on
habitat.
its own, right?
Yes,
like it
but-
has a lung. It has lungs that work. Like actually, that's an interesting point. Let's talk about the difference between an elder person and a fetus, right? An elder person, although they might need assistance in doing things, right? They can still breathe on their own. They can still put food from their mouth to their stomach and digest that nutrients on their own, right? Although they might need assistance in doing all these things, right? When they poop, they can poop on their own. Their body is still functional, even though it needs assistance. They are still an independent organism. And anyone can provide that assistance,
But
right?
that's
It
similar
doesn't
to a
just
baby,
have to
though.
be-
A baby still breathes on its own.
Yes.
Its heartbeat moves
Exactly.
on its own.
It is similar to a baby, but it's not similar to a fetus. That's the point.
I was just going to say that you still haven't, you said that it's a baby, that it's not a baby at all. But
not.
at the end of the day, the Constitution doesn't say that babies get rights. It says personhood. And so if it's a life and if it's a human,
No, a baby
that is
does
a person.
have legal personhood. Yes.
Okay, so then it's a person. So then it should have full
No,
constitutional
a baby
rights.
has personhood, right? So the prompt is a fetus is not
A
a
baby, yes, so
a
it doesn't-
baby has legal personhood. A baby has constitutional rights, a social security number, and the needs that a baby has.
So does a
the
social
care-
security number make someone a person? What makes someone a person?
No, a social security number does not make someone a person, but under the definition,
But I want to know. I want to know for you.
But here's
what
the thing:
makes
we're
what
not
makes it a
talking
person?
about personal morality. I don't care when you think life begins. I
I've
don't
never said.
care-
I actually
We're only
haven't given
talking
mine.
about science.
I'm
Do you
asking
wanna-
you
do you
because
wanna
of your
answer?
yeah.
We're
So
not
your
talking
prompt
about-
was a fetus is not a baby, therefore it doesn't get full constitutional rights.
Yes.
So in the Constitution it says person. So I'm asking, what makes someone a person? I want to
So
know.
based
from you.
on the constitutional definition, it is someone who is born or naturalized in the U.S. gets full constitutional rights under our laws, right? It has not been born yet, so it does not deserve those full
But that
constitutional
goes back to my
rights.
point. We don't always just go off of what the law says when it says who
We
gets
do
rights
go
and
off the
who
laws,
wait,
what the law says when
I-
it comes to the constitutional rights.
But
of
sometimes
an
the law is
individual,
not. Yes, and that's why we're here today, actually advocating for life, because we believe right now the law is not federally backing up that even the preborn are alive, they are a person. So therefore, they should get the full constitutional rights, the right to life.
But that
and
would
just
be
like
great
just at one
if
point
you
in
can
time,
just, like-
women didn't get the full rights to vote. Just like at one point in time, African Americans didn't have the full right to freedom. We're saying we're advocating here today because the preborn don't get the full right to life that they should have.
But right, the issue though is that the preborn's right to life infringes on the mother's right to
So,
liberty.
as a
Hold
mom-
on, pause. Let me respond to her, and then you are welcome to go. So the issue is that women having the right to vote doesn't take away the right to vote from men, right? Black people not being slaves doesn't mean white people are now slaves.
White people were offended, plenty of them, because they weren't able to own slaves. And the law says it doesn't matter what you want to do necessarily. It matters if do they have value.
Okay,
and
the point that I'm making is not whether
so
or not someone was inconvenienced. The point that I'm making is that Black people having freedom doesn't infringe upon anyone else's constitutional rights. But a fetus having the same
argument we're making is that it does infringe, abortion does infringe on the constitutional rights that a child should have because they're a person.
Exactly.
And all
So what we're doing right now is choosing between the constitutional rights of a born and naturalized human being who is conscious, who does have needs, who does feel pain, and a clump of cells.
Okay, so
that
really,
is not, they're not equal.
Bodily autonomy doesn't extend to intentionally ending the life of another innocent person. And I would love to just hear your perspective on how does the Constitution even infer a right to abortion? Because that's part of the reason that abortion, like Roe v. Wade, was even overturned in the first place, is because the Supreme Court decided that a right has to be rooted deeply in this nation's history as well as what we practice. So when the 14th Amendment was ratified in 1868, abortion was widely restricted across the states. So they determined that it's not a right because in the Constitution, it's not inferred as a right, and that's why Roe v. Wade was overturned with Dobbs v. Jackson. So my question for you is, number one, you still haven't proven how a fetus isn't a human being. And also, number two, how does a child's natural, age-appropriate stage in development and dependency on their parent give us a right to end their life?
I'm sorry, can you repeat one of those questions?
I'll just say what I said at the end. So how does a child's natural, age-appropriate dependency on their parent give us a right to kill them? Because, right, parents have an obligation to protect their children, not intentionally kill them, and abortion intentionally kills a innocent fetus, human being, whatever you want to call it.
It is the liberty of a woman to decide what happens with her body. That is in the Constitution 1000%. Everyone gets that right, and everyone should always have that right. And if you have to choose between something that she is sustaining, a life that only she can sustain, and her life, I believe that her life takes constitutional precedent.
I'm on mute the entire time while I'm talking. I'm aware. That was quite the experience. That really was. I'm gonna let Dr. Daff do her advertisement in the background as we talk about this one. So, what do y'all think? What do y'all think? How did she do? How did she do? How did the other people do against her? I want to know y'all's thoughts if you don't mind. We're gonna kind of go through this one and take this one apart side by side. I'm gonna let Dr. Daff keep talking over here, so I know when to pause this one so we can keep on going. That was painful. That was painful to have to listen to. I'm not going to lie. That was, I've heard it all before. There's nothing that came out of her mouth that was exceptionally difficult to respond back to. And we're gonna go down the list actually with all of this. So we're gonna go down the list and we're gonna make sure we hit all the points that she was talking about, because she made quite a few different claims as she went through that. And I just, that was rough. That was really rough. Dr. Daff's got about 30 more seconds to go, so I'm going to let her keep on talking here for a moment until she gets done. I see, Eric, you gave her an F. Others, you gave a B+. Kitty Giggle 22. That is a name. Do cats giggle? Do cats giggle? I don't know. All right, but good morning to you, ma'am. God bless you. I'm going to make an assumption here that you're a lady. If you're not, go ahead and correct me. I appreciate that. April said Christian ladies 1, the crazy lady 0. Okay, that's absolutely fair. I still don't like this 1v20 format. I still don't like it. I'm going to go ahead and start with that right now. All right, we can go ahead and pause that and put that down there. I don't like the 1v20 format because I would like to see them sit on some of the wild things that she said. But that being said, it's wild to volunteer to get pieced up the way that she is right now. Let's just go from top to bottom here. I want you all to try and listen to some of the stuff I'm going to put in front of you, because this will help you with your conversations when it comes to abortion. I've got a lot of this stuff already pulled up because I've had these conversations a lot of times. And I want to make sure that you all have access to the same things that I have, because I usually go to the exact same places in no particular order. Remember that the prompt was, a fetus is not a baby and does not deserve full constitutional protections. I say that again for you all because she forgot her own prompt. At some point in time, she got real uncomfortable with trying to explain what life is or isn't in scientific consensus, that she just focused on the second question, constitutional protection. But in fact, her prompt was twofold. Not a baby, not constitutional protection. So we're going to go ahead and sit there in the place that she gave us in the first place. So, again, no particular order. She said that there's no scientific consensus that life begins at fertilization. Y'all heard that quite a few times as she said that, right? No scientific consensus, no scientific consensus. And I think that's adorable. I truthfully do, okay? So the problem is that if you say I need a scientific consensus, so consensus meaning that everybody agrees on it, okay, you need to stop eating any kind of GMO safety foods, right? If they say they're safe, you got to let them go. Stop eating those. Only 88% of scientists actually agree you should be eating those things. Matter of fact, since I know this is typically on your side of the house regardless, right? Stereotypical here, secular left, atheist individuals, go ahead and stop taking vaccines. All of them. All of them. Stop taking all of them. COVID-19, don't take that. Don't take that. Matter of fact, explain why you pushed that so hard. You apparently need scientific consensus in order to do something. Only 86% of scientists agree that childhood vaccinations should be required. Matter of fact, since you are on the stereotypical left, liberal, and atheist side of the house, since you need scientific consensus in order to get behind something, go ahead and just let natural selection go. Go ahead and let evolution go. We're just going to go ahead and put that one on the bench. I don't ever want to hear you mention evolution or anything like that again. Never once do I want to hear that come out of your mouth, because you need scientific consensus in order to believe in something. Only 87% of scientists agree that humans evolved via natural processes or natural selection. You see how that kind of disintegrates on itself. If somebody ever goes in that direction with you all, well, since all scientists don't agree, you need to go ahead and get those three facts right there in front of them. Scientists don't ever 100% agree on anything, besides the fact that gravity most likely exists. And even then, I'm pretty sure there's a few scientists who are like, nah, it's magic, right? So scientific consensus is a very, very weak argument. But I'll let you know that young lady was absolutely correct when she said, back in 2021, the fall, in the PubMed from the National Library of Medicine, the reason why she pushed back so hard on that claim, she's like, no. I need a consensus, because the lady was correct. 96%, I quote, by the way, I'm reading this directly from the scientific consensus on when a human's life begins. That's the best part about it. If I was that girl that was sitting there, I'd have said, hey, the journal title is The Scientific Consensus on When a Human's Life Begins. If she had known the name of that journal article, she could have dropped a nuclear bomb on that woman's forehead, all over her forehead. That is the name of it, by the way. And it says here that overall, 96%, 5,337 out of 5,577 affirmed the fertilization view. These are biologists from over 1,058 academic institutions around the world, by the way. This is the one that I quote, by the way, for those of you who have seen me mention this on TikTok time and time again. This is the one that I quote, where you look at the individuals who are going into this, and the ones that they actually surveyed on this, most of them are actually on the stereotypical left, secular, atheist individuals. They don't believe in God for most of them. They don't believe in any type of faith, and yet even they come together and they say, no, it starts at fertilization. So that's my first point. Once again, that is you can just Google this, National Library of Medicine, the scientific consensus on when a human's life begins. You will not find another study that is, one, as recent, right? We want recent studies. That way we know that they're accurate. Two, you will not find something that's going to give you this much consensus with this large of a sample size of 4 individuals that are specialized in this field. You won't find it. Keep that one in your back pocket. Let's keep on going. She kept mentioning viability. She kept mentioning that word. Y'all caught that too, right? She loved the word viability. That's one of her favorite things to say, is what about viability, right? And then she kept saying along with that, right, but it can't sustain life without being inside the mother. Can't breathe on its own, right? Anybody ever come across that before? Show of hands. Anybody ever come across somebody who just loves killing babies in the womb, loves making sure women have the ability to do so? And they keep saying to you, well, it's not viable. It has to rely on the mother. That's not something that deserves protections. It can't do it by itself. I've heard that one a lot, right? Eric, I know this is boring for you because you've heard me do all of this very, very recently, but it's fun to go ahead and brush this off. Okay, so the claim here is that it should not be viewed equally as life because it has to rely on the mother, especially up to 20 some odd weeks is what she said. I can't remember her number because either way it's still murder, right? But especially up to 20 some odd weeks, right? You should be able to let that thing go. Slice it on out there because it's not, to her point, viable. It cannot survive outside the womb. My question to you is it life though? Is it life? That's the only question you need to answer in response. When someone's like, it can't survive outside the body, well, is it life? They're going to say either yes, but, and you can go in that direction with them, or you'd be like, no, I don't consider it life because it's not viable. Fantastic. You don't consider it a life because it's not viable. It can't survive on its own outside of the mother's body. Great. So do you consider tapeworms to be life? Most scientists do. Most adults do, right? Well, tapeworms, kind of a big part of their existence is surviving off of something else. Okay, what about head lice? That's gross, but what about head lice? What about sucking, chewing lice? All of them require some kind of host in order to survive. Do you not consider those life either? How about bacteria? Certain types of bacteria, like chlamydia, isn't that nasty? Certain types of bacteria need something else in order to survive. Parasitic plants need something in order to survive. Some fungi need something else in order to survive. And so you got to ask them the question, if viability is necessary in order for you to consider something to be life, then do you not consider these other things life, right? I'm just looking for some consistency from you. That's it. Where are we coming from on this one? So that's why I need you to go ahead and put it in front of them as well. I'm not done. I got a lot for this one. This is a really easy conversation, right? So she kept talking about life, right? She said life. She's really big on consensus. Here's a couple different ways that you can pick this one apart, right? First of all, fine. There's a scientist approach. Most scientists say that it's life. You don't want to listen to scientists? That's fine. How about grammar? How about words? Do words matter at all whatsoever? Because you saw that she had in there this moment where she's like, I got one up on Charlie Kirk. Look at me go. Somebody find me that clip. I need to check that clip out, right? She said that she got one up on Charlie Kirk, right? She kept trying to shift where she was coming from. At first, she said life has to do with viability. So let's start right there. Go, you know what, we're going to do this right now. I'm going to Google what are the top 5 dictionaries for English in the world. And Google's going to think about it for a second, and Google's going to tell me, what a surprise! It's going to say 5 of them. It will almost always say these 5 dictionaries, okay? It's going to say Oxford English Dictionary, OED. It's going to say Oxford. It's going to say Merriam-Webster. You might know this as Woke Webster. You might see Collins English Dictionary is going to be on that list. Cambridge. Y'all have heard of Cambridge before. That's going to be on the list. And the American Heritage Dictionary of the English Language. Now, a little past AT was so sick and tired of individuals constantly trying to describe what life is and getting it wrong that he just looked it up. Oxford, Webster, American Heritage, Collins, and Cambridge. Let's read together, shall we? According to Oxford English Definition, the definition of the word life, L-I-F-E, the condition which distinguishes active animals and plants from inorganic matter, including, this part's very important, the capacity for growth, functional activity, and continual change preceding death. Okay, that's Oxford. It's one. It's just 1 out of 5, y'all. It's just 1 out of 5. Woke Webster says the quality that distinguishes a vital and functional being from a dead body, a principle or force that is considered to underlie the distinctive quality of animate beings, and an orgasmic state characterized by the capacity for metabolism, growth, reaction of stimuli, and reproduction. American Heritage Dictionary, yes, I'm going to beat this thing to death because we got to make sure we understand this one. According to the American Heritage Dictionary, it's the property or quality that distinguishes living organisms from dead organisms and inanimate matter, manifested in functions such as metabolism, growth, reproduction in response to stimuli or adaptation to the environment originating from within the organism. The Collins English Dictionary says, the state of quality that distinguishes living beings or organisms from dead ones from organic matter, characterized chiefly by metabolism, growth, and the ability to reproduce and respond to stimuli. You will only find one dictionary out of the 5 that just says, this is Cambridge, the quality that makes people, animals, and plants different from objects, substances, and things that are dead. That's the only one that does not mention that really key word of growth. So my question to you, pro-choicers who just love slaughtering themselves a child in the womb is, if I just let all parts of the equation kept the same, and all individuals and beings involved go about their day-to-day life, handling their Pavlov's hierarchy of needs of sleep, food, water, etc., will that thing that's in there still grow? And if you're like, well, no, AT, that's not a fair question. You're assuming that the mother wants to eat food in order to survive. Then we got to go back and you got to explain why a parasite isn't life. And so we're going to keep on sliding by that one. But let's go to the claim she made about my homie Charlie Kirk, 'cause I got to have his back every single time somebody has his name on their mouth inappropriately. She said that, you know what? Not a baby, right? A baby is defined as being alive. I had this conversation with Charlie Kirk, and then every once in a while, you're going to come across an annoying individual like myself who's going to fact check that bad boy. Once again, if you Google the top 5 dictionaries in the United States of America and the entire world for English, you'll get Oxford, Merriam-Webster, American Heritage Dictionary, Collins English Dictionary, and Cambridge. Out of those 5, 3 of them, that's known as the majority in English circles and also when it comes to math. 3 of them say, let me just go pick one of them on here. Let's go with the American Heritage Dictionary says a very young child, an infant. Oh no, in parentheses, also listed an unborn child or fetus. That's embarrassing. Right, let's go to the Collins English Dictionary, a very young child, especially one that cannot yet walk or talk. Also, in those parentheses, a newborn or recently born child, infant. And we're not done. American usage notes, including an unborn human fetus. That's embarrassing. We can go to Oxford English Dictionary, a very young child, especially one not able to walk or dependent on the care of others. An infant also applied to an unborn child. That's embarrassing. So I don't know why she said that or where she got that from. These are things that we need to know off the top of our head. Okay, fine. So we got the definition of a baby. I'm just going down my list here of everything that I have up here. She said the ability to own property, right? She's like, no, constitutional applies. And she said, right, it applies to individuals, which, by the way, if you look at the Constitution, there is nothing in the Constitution that defines what a person is. What it in fact says is all persons, the 14th Amendment, the one that she went back to, all persons born or naturalized in the United States. So this is where she gets her argument that babies don't have constitutional protections. Excuse me. Because it says all persons born or naturalized, neither of which actually do apply to a child in the womb. And so she's going to try and hinge her entire argument on that. The problem is when you put that in there, it does not say that for every single amendment, right? So unfortunately, if it doesn't specifically say that it's the people who are born and naturalized, it does still apply to every individual who is living, right? Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I just gave you the definition of life. Maybe you don't like it, but that is the definition of the word life. The problem is when you say that this individual is supposed to own property, by what you just said, then nobody up until the age of 18 is considered a life to you. You see what I'm saying, right? If you're saying the Constitution gives you these things, and if you don't have these things, you're not a baby, then everyone up until the age of 18, I'm sorry, if you slid into this live, you shouldn't be up this early in the morning anyways, unless you're going to school, right? You're not considered life according to individuals who are on the left. That's just kind of wild to me, right? Let me see. I think that's everything. Oh, this last part right here, a mother's ability to choose what she wants for her body. You did choose what you want for your body. You notice they never sit here. They never sit here. They love the idea of the sexual freedom so much that they're like, no, I need to get my medicine. I need to go out there and get some strange. I know that there's consequences because they're not retarded, right? Pardon for the language. I'm a 90s baby, right? 80s, right? But they're not dumb. They're not mentally challenged. They know that if I sit down here and have sex, unless it says 100% guarantee of not getting pregnant, which is, by the way, only abstinence, I know there's a possibility. Because if you are someone who is able to have sex and you don't know it's possible that you can get pregnant, you should be locked up in a mental asylum. I'm just being honest with you. That's one of the things that we know happens actually, right? You ever seen dogs get it on? You kind of know what happens after that fact. So you actually do have a choice for your body. The individuals who are pro-choice, they know that. What they're actually saying is, I don't want before I have sex to be the decision moment. I want it to be after I have sex and I get pregnant. So when I'm in the moment, when I can't think straight because I'm horny, turned on, and I just really want the yams, I can't be held responsible for that. I want to make an action in the future that's going to correct that moment. And you know what? I love playing with crayons. I think they're so much fun. I like pretending that sometimes they taste like food and I'm a Marine. It doesn't make it true, though. Let's keep watching here, y'all. For those of you who slid in here, we were watching Dr. Daft's show 1 pro-choice versus 20 pro-life. Thank you all very much for being here today. I got a couple of super chats. We're going to hit them real quick. $2 super chat from Amy Eddie, R7R. Thank you very much for supporting the Garden Project today and kicking us off, if you don't mind, with our giving for today. She just says, "Ugh, I'm with you. Y'all the ones that picked this one, so talk to your peers about that one." We got a $10 super chat from Jessica Zane, 8355. Thank you very much for supporting the Garden Project, ma'am. Said, "Wait, I'm going to need that scientific consensus approach in my notes. I have the link to this, and I just dropped it in the private chat." There you go. That's the link to the study. I love this study. I truthfully do, because you got to always flex with individuals when it comes to their arguments. Some individuals are like, well, and they don't do this much anymore since this report came out. Well, science says that a zygote is not the same as a fetus, right? And so they went to the zygote thing for like a couple of years. That was their go-to until someone came out and explained to them what that process was. And so you'll notice that most of the arguments you have around abortion and individuals who just love slaughtering babies in the womb, now they've shifted towards, well, constitutional protections and the right of the mother. So you just got to be willing to dance with them, because I tell you this, they're not good dance partners. Thank you very much for being here. I do greatly appreciate everyone who is here. If you want to be a part of the conversation or get your notes up here at the end of every segment, super chats and super stickers are greatly appreciated. Hopefully you all are enjoying the conversation. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and let's keep on watching for part 2 in 1 pro-choice versus 20 pro-lifers. I just realized that's not the video we need to watch. Let's watch the actual video. Here you go.
Right? And so
I was like skipped ahead for no reason. That's my bad, y'all.
right. What I have an issue with is you
Love to have you join us. Thank you for being part of the Dr. Dap Show community, and we'll see you on Patreon.
All right, my next prompt is, using religion to justify a pro-life argument is unconstitutional. Hello, ladies. I'm Naima.
I'm Savannah.
I'm Rochelle. I'm Julia Kate.
Hi, I'm Maddie.
Hi, I'm Aniela.
Okay, you guys, so for this prompt, I realized after I submitted it that it was not as clear as I wanted to be. So let me make something perfectly clear. I am not here to attack whatever your faith is, whatever you believe in your life, and however it, dictates how you move in the world. That is absolutely your right. What I have an issue with is using religion to justify legislative decisions, because that's when it becomes about other people having to follow your religion. If you have a personal belief that dictates how you move, that is absolutely your right. But just don't make it my issue, is my thing.
So where does it say that in the Constitution?
In the First Amendment.
And can you explain to me what that says?
Okay. That'd be great. Yeah, for sure. All right. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise of religion.
Perfect. And so my thought to that is that abortion is first and foremost a human rights issue. Abortion is actually the greatest human rights issue of our time because it is the killing of an innocent human being. And so you don't need religion in order to justify it, but I will say religion is compatible with it. So I think there are some things that we can agree morally are wrong. Killing, stealing, and abortion is killing. And so I don't really understand how you think the Constitution would.
Well, okay. But so what? That's your personal belief based on your religious framework. Now justify it secularly. And if God's on your side, that should be
right. So
quite
it's
easy.
not based on religious framework. Are there certain things that we can come to by natural law?
By natural law?
Yeah, so can we agree that stealing is wrong, that murdering an innocent human being is wrong?
Yeah, for sure.
So then, would you say that, does someone else want to go maybe and take that? Sorry.
I'll take it over. I just have a clarifying question, Naima.
For sure.
Are you claiming that an American law is only constitutional if it serves a secular interest?
It doesn't have to serve a secular interest, but it cannot be written on the basis of serving a religious interest, right?
Okay, are you aware of the 2022 landmark decision Kennedy v. Birmingham, which ruled that the Establishment Clause must be interpreted by the Founding Fathers' original intentions and historical practices? So in order to interpret the Establishment Clause, we have to look at what our Founding Fathers originally intended. And they justified the Constitution itself by religion. We cannot separate the architecture of American liberty by destroying the Judeo-Christian foundation that built it.
Just because they believed in God does not mean that the Constitution itself was entirely justified by religion.
John
Can
Adams said that the Constitution was written
you gotta
for
let me
religious
talk.
and moral people.
You got to let me talk. Thank you. So religious and moral, again, that would not include just solely religious people. But the issue that we're running into here is that if your government and the laws therein are based solely upon religious principles, this is no longer a democracy, but a theocracy. And theocracy sucks. Even for those who are of the religious in-group, it is a horrible system of government, right? Just like nobody wants to live in a dictatorship. So you can't base your laws in this country around religion. And I might argue, as a religious person, part of the reason why that law was established, the First Amendment in the Bill of Rights, is because it infringes on everyone's religious freedom, because not every Christian, believes exactly the same way. My mother is a Christian and she disagrees with all of you, right? So you can't just base your laws solely on religion. If that's how you establish your belief system and your framework, by all means.
May I respond?
Absolutely.
Okay, so currently, by the Supreme Court's ruling, the standard is the historical practices and original intentions of the Founding Fathers. Our Founding Fathers did not create a theocracy. In fact, they wanted to declare independence from England, which had its own church. And when we think about separation of church and state, which has been widely misconstrued, it is actually to keep government overreach out of faith, not to keep biblical morality out of public policy. And I just want to ask one question.
I would disagree with that.
So, I want to know why. The first Congress that wrote and approved the First Amendment with the Establishment Clause, the very next day, that Congress instituted a national day of prayer and thanksgiving. Did they just violate their own law?
I'm sorry, you're talking about Thanksgiving, the national holiday?
No, they instituted a national day of prayer and thanksgiving to God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, not just some vague notion of religious inclusivity, but the God of the Bible. And when our founders wrote the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, the right to life is first because it is a supreme prerequisite to all the other rights. You can't have happiness, any of these things, if you're not first alive. And the point is, the Declaration of Independence is on one premise. Our rights do not come from a politician, a bureaucratic state, but they are a sacred endowment from our Creator. And that's the thing. You said nobody knows when life begins.
But they're a sacred endowment from your Creator, right?
The
I don't
Creator.
believe in your Creator, and you cannot force your Creator onto me until I want to accept your Creator. That is the point of I disagree with the whole premise of we keep politics out of religion and not religion out of politics. I don't think there's a way to divorce those two things, right? If you want to have a country in which everyone is allowed to worship their God the way that they want to, you cannot create legislation that affects everyone based upon your God. If that's where your personal belief comes from, that's great. But you have to be able to justify it secularly. And I see that you want to speak. What's up?
Yes, hey. So I'm just wondering, was your prompt, is it based in the Lemon Test that was created by the Supreme Court in 1971?
No.
Okay, because when I heard about your prompt, it made me think of the Lemon Test where, they scrutinize every potential law to make sure that it can stand separately from any sort of religious motivation. And as Julia Kate mentioned, in 2022, the Supreme Court ruled that that is legally dead. And they put forth the standard, which Julia Kate mentioned, which is the historical and traditions standard, which not only says it's constitutional to come from a religious motivation, but it's actually encouraged.
I know.
When you
I
look
disagree with that
at
ruling,
the
just like I disagree with Dobbs.
Yeah, so
one thing I'll add.
Well, here, I'm sorry, I cut you off. Do you want to finish and then I'll let you go?
Okay. So you're asking, your whole premise was, is it constitutional? Well, according to the 2022 ruling that the Lemon Test is legally dead, and now we go according to the history and tradition standard, it is absolutely constitutional and encouraged again for someone to come with religious motivation. George Washington, in his farewell address, he said, we cannot have a good society or good government without the two pillars of religion and morality. And when you look at the beliefs and ideas of the Founding Fathers, they communicated this. And that's one of the checklist with the history and tradition standard, that they want to look at what was in the heads of the founding fathers when they created the Constitution. Also, what was, another example, Supreme Court Justice James Wilson, I believe his name is, around the Constitution, in a case, he used Psalm 139 from the Bible to talk about the value of a human life. If it was not constitutional.
I know, I disagree with that. And I mean, there's been lots of interpretations of the Supreme Court on the constitutionality of certain things that I fundamentally disagree with. I mean, Plessy v. Ferguson, the Supreme Court case that made segregation constitutional, we all now can agree was a horrible ruling. I hope we can agree, right? So there's lots of Supreme Court rulings that I don't necessarily personally agree with and is not how I would interpret the Constitution, which is the point of the prompt, right?
What do you think about the civil rights?
It was her turn.
One thing I'll add, you mentioned about religion and being unconstitutional. Those two words kind of stood out to me. And I think someone else mentioned here that the pro-life position is not dependent on religion.
Exactly.
It is complementary. But I would also add that, and I know we talked a little bit about this in the previous prompt, but science and embryology, people a lot smarter than me, embryologists, majority of them, 96% of them actually have said when life begins.
96% when life begins is coming up a lot. I wonder where we're getting that.
You can look that up on
Is that Charlotte Lotzier? Who came up with that one?
You can also look at the molecular biology criterion for life.
If we have a fact checker,
But in addition to that, so we mentioned embryology, natural law, human rights, just that in itself. But when I look at a couple other people that brought their faith to the table, in a sense, I think of MLK, right? A Baptist preacher that brought his faith to the table when he talked about the civil rights movement. Would we now look at the civil rights movement and say that was unconstitutional because he brought his faith to the table or in the public square?
Actually, I would say MLK is a great example of exactly what I want the pro-life movement to do, right? His personal beliefs, his motivations are based in his faith, right? And he was vocal about that. But he was still able to create a secular argument that justified his positions based on the Constitution, natural law, and that is what I'm asking the pro-life movement to do, right?
And our secular argument is that all human life begins at fertilization.
I know that's your secular argument, but that's not a scientific, objective fact yet.
It is. By molecular biology's criterion for determining life, whether something is alive or not, a zygote from the moment of fertilization meets all of the criterion. It has to do with cellular production. They have homostasis, they response to external stimuli.
A zygote is a single cell, Diva.
Yes,
it hasn't even been implanted. It hasn't even been implanted in the womb
But it
yet.
knows how to implant without anything
No, baby,
else.
it could still be ectopic. It doesn't know how to implant.
And do you know that
they get stuck to the fallopian tubes all the time?
May I just finish my sentence? And
Sure.
the floor is yours. Do you know that at the moment of fertilization, everything is ultimately established, from its biological sex to its hair color, to its eye color, to its height, to even the fingerprint that it's going to have. It is not potential life. It is life with potential. And a woman has the choice to not engage in intercourse, but she does not have the choice to murder her child because it is inconvenient to her.
Well, first of all, not every woman has the choice not to engage in intercourse, as we'll get into rape, because that is a big part of this. But my point to that is, a zygote at the time of fertilization has not yet been implanted in the womb. It could still be an ectopic pregnancy. It could be a non-viable pregnancy. There are fatal fetal anomalies. You cannot say from the moment of conception, 100%, there will be a human life. So can we go back to religion for a second? Yeah. So I think that, I appreciate the secular arguments much more, but my issue and my fear is that Christian nationalism, specifically on this issue, is allowing for people to give up their fundamental right to practice their religion the way that they want to, including Christians, because you don't all agree on exactly how your religion should be practiced. So your government should not be making legislation based on religion, because that's not necessarily your beliefs, that's that person's belief.
Naima, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
So, as we've been talking about, in 2022, the standard is now the history and traditions standard. And so religious motivation is encouraged, but it cannot violate the Establishment Clause in the First Amendment.
But it
which we
inherently
know,
will.
if I can just finish, there's 3 things they look at. 1, is this establishing like a Church of England? We don't want that here. 2, is this causing excessive government entanglement with the church? 3, is this inhibiting or advancing religion? Can you please tell me how pro-life laws do that? Because I cannot see that, because as a Christian, my work with pro-life, 99% of the time with Baby Life Begins, I don't quote one Bible verse. I just
Exactly,
quote
which is
the
as you
science.
should.
Yes, and so that's what I'm saying. I quote the science and the facts.
Which
and so
is
it
as you
sounds,
should.
again, unless you can tell me it's violating one of those 3, the Establishment Clause of the First Amendment, the pro-life position again is completely constitutional, in line with the history and tradition standard.
So, my love, what you just described is not unconstitutional because you're backing it with science. That's all that I'm asking. That's all that I'm asking, is that it be justified with secular morality and scientific data, and not, oh, my God said it's a murder, so therefore I'm going to create these laws that everyone now has to follow. That's all that I want.
If there was a source that said human life begins at fertilization, would you be pro-life?
If there was a source undeniably that stated human life
A
begins at
scientific,
fertilization,
biological source.
if there was like 100% consensus, probably not.
Why? Why not?
Why wouldn't I be? Honestly, because of the results of pro-life legislation. If we look at the world post-Dobbs, right? If we look at the past 4 years and what it has meant, infant mortality has increased by 5.6% in states with complete and total abortion bans, which is even higher for women of color. The rate of women who have been forced to carry non-viable pregnancies, which are stillbirths, right, to term, has increased exponentially. In the states in which there is no exception for rape or incest, there have been 65,000 women who have become pregnant through rape, right? And so in those states, those women are now being forced to carry a child to term that they didn't even have a choice in, conceiving, right? So regardless of the intention behind it, I'm looking at the effects of what this legislation has done to hundreds of thousands of women around this country, and I can't justify, the protection of fetal life with how it's actually impacted living women and those children once they're born.
Have you seen a picture of a baby who's aborted at 9 weeks?
Yes, I have.
They have little fingers and toes, and that life is not valuable to you? There are 2,000 innocent human beings killed every single day in America. That doesn't matter to you?
2,000, I'm sorry, are you talking about?
Babies. In the womb.
So, fetuses.
3,000 now. 3,000 now.
Right.
Does that not matter? Do these lives? This is the greatest human rights violation of our time.
But see, you keep talking about in the womb. I want to talk about out of the womb, right?
Okay,
These mothers and the lives that they are going through once they are forced to give birth to children that they do not love.
So I do interviews all the time with women who have had abortions, and their stories and their fears and what has happened to them afterwards. It's horrible.
99% of women do not regret having an abortion who have it.
Okay, I would say I really want to go back to the Establishment Clause really quick, because even if you have a religious motivation behind what you believe, that still doesn't really, that's not establishing a religion. So there would be a difference between, saying that we believe that it's murder because God says so, or murder is wrong, something along those lines. That wouldn't be an establishment of religion. If we established an abortion ban, that wouldn't require you to specifically be a Christian or specifically be a part of a religion.
Exactly, but now you have to follow your religious beliefs, even if you're not a Christian. That's the point. If you establish an abortion ban solely and specifically on the basis of my God told me that this is what is right and this is what should be, then now everyone who lives in that state with that abortion ban has to follow the rules of your God, regardless of whether or not they're a Christian.
So
that's my issue.
I would say no matter how you argue it, you're still going to be coming from someone's worldview and someone's morality.
Absolutely. So come from a secular morality. Don't force your religion onto other people. That's the problem.
Yeah, and I would say that most people do come from, I don't actually know of anyone who specifically uses religion to justify a pro-life argument.
Really?
Yeah.
I hear religion used to justify a pro-life argument quite constantly online, and it drives me crazy because I would really just like people to focus on secular ethics because that's what all of us are held to.
But you said even if science said that human life begins at fertilization, you wouldn't be pro-life.
Yeah, because I'm also looking at the impacts of what pro-life legislation has done to women, and I don't fuck with it.
You have every right to not believe in God, but you do not have the right to act as God and decide who lives or dies.
Neither does the government, which is why they fucking shouldn't.
That was a fun one. That was a real fun one. It was certainly an entertaining one. We're going to let this play through to get ready for the next prompt here in about 40 seconds or so. Thank you all for being here. I'm going to use this opportunity to do a quick reminder since we're halfway through the show here. For anybody who may have slid in partially through, I understand that YouTube lets in all kinds of individuals and we're used to certain things. However, this live is a live for biblical Christians who are grounded in Scripture, and we do aim to reflect Christ in everything that we do here. So if you were someone who slid in, and you don't agree, you think it's ridiculous, hey, land of the free, home of the whopper, you're allowed to think whatever it is that you want to think. But here in this comment section, we're having fellowship this morning, so you're more than welcome to be here if you don't believe. Go ahead and ask a question. If you disagree with it, why don't you learn what someone else believes, right? Why don't you kind of get a different take if you don't mind? But if you are in the comment section, you're just giving us your opinion, you're not actually trying to have a conversation, Amy, go ahead and send them on the way out the door here. We're going to continue maintaining the integrity of the live that we have here. Thank you all very much for joining us today. This is a fun one. Still watching Dr. Daff, one pro-choice versus 20 pro-lifers. This second prompt, I'm surprised that they went as long as they did on this one. The prompt in and of itself is a setup. So I got to ask y'all this question. The prompt was, using religion to justify a pro-life argument is unconstitutional, right? Anybody ever come across this recently in these conversations with your stereotypical left secular atheist individuals where they'll say something like, you can believe whatever you want to believe, but just don't vote in line with your beliefs, right? Just let your beliefs go when you get up to the voting booth. Anybody, show of hands, come across that recently? Because I've noticed that's become more popular, right? You're being told, oh, you think that abortion is murder. Can you just not bring in God? Can you just just let it go this one time when it comes to voting? And the claim is people should not vote in line with their faith. I reject her prompt, actually, because it's actually not the least bit accurate. Here's the problem. When you vote, that's an act of conscience. Every single ballot reflects a judgment about what is right, what is just, or what is good for society. That's what people do when they go vote. No one votes from a blank slate. I don't believe in anything. I don't know what I think is right or wrong. I don't know what I think would be best. Nope, I'm just going to go and vote. Everyone votes from a place of what they think is right, just, or good for society. So a Christian who opposes abortion or defines marriage as between a man and a woman does so because they have convictions about human life and God's design. Okay, that's where they get it from. That's faith. Got it. So you're saying, let that go. She said, and I quote here, I would really like people to focus on secular ethics because that's what we are all held to. So what you're really saying is, I would like for you to believe in what I believe, and I want you to vote based off of the beliefs that I have. Just because you put the word secular in front of it doesn't mean you don't believe in it. That still very much exists by the definition of the word belief. So a secular progressive, right, who probably supports the same policies as this woman does, right? Kill all the babies, let whoever get married who wants to get married, whatever she believes in. Well, they do so because they have convictions about autonomy, equality, harm. Both the convictions about abortion, about human life and God's design, autonomy, equality, and harm, both of these are moral acts. You may not like one side or the other, but that's just what they are by the definition of the word. And the Constitution protects the rights of citizens to bring their deepest beliefs, religious or otherwise, into the voting booth. You can't tell me I can't do that. Even suggesting it, how would you feel if I suggested to you, let go of your secularism, and the same thing that you're upset about, you're also saying I want to do to you as well? That makes no sense, does it, right? When you demand that religious people suppress their faith, right, while freely exercising what you believe in, that's not neutrality. You want to censor people who have faith because you don't like the conclusion that it comes to, and it goes against your moral claims. But the thing is, the law rests on moral claims. Every single criminal statute we have draws a line between you're allowed to do it, you're not allowed to do it. Your murder, your theft, your fraud, your child abuse, for goodness sake, they're illegal because society as a whole have decided that they are wrong. This is why people who are pro-choice are disgusted whenever you start bringing up morality. Scott, it's your last time for you to ask a question. If not, I'm gonna go ahead and have him send you on the way out the door. Maybe you didn't hear me the first time when I said this is a lie for biblical Christians unless you have a question. Go ahead and Amy, give him a ticket on the one-way trip down to downtown. I appreciate that. Unless he has a question. If he has a question and he can contain his behavior, we can go ahead and keep rolling in that direction. Anyways, like I was saying in regards to this, right? So someone in society decided these are wrong, right? So those judgments that we have, they're not value-free technical rules. There's no universal standard across the entire globe throughout all human history of what is right or what is wrong. The people come together and vote. It's the uniqueness of the United States of America, the republic in which we live in. We have these moral assertions that are enforced by the state. So what would happen if everyone in the United States had the morality that something that is biblically wrong is something that we should do? Well, the United States is going to do it because we live in a republic. That's the way that it works. So in American tradition, most of those assertions, don't kill somebody, don't steal from somebody. Boy, I know we don't like talking about it. Boy, I know it makes us uncomfortable in our no-no space whenever we're at parties. But they are shaped objectively by Judeo-Christian values. Go read a book, right? That's what they're shaped from, right? And so they took this and they implemented it into society. It sounds so great, so very charged. It's what's popular in the media to say, no, faith is bad. Don't do these things. You know what else is also really popular? To say that the Declaration of Independence of the Constitution in no way, shape, or form at all whatsoever mentions God. And I know that you want it to say God is real for you to say that it actually mentions him in any way, shape, or form. But unfortunately, that's not the way that the world works. And I expect you to be able to read above a fourth grade reading level, which I understand most Americans cannot. In the Declaration of Independence, we actually have a whole lot in there. In the opening paragraph, it talks about nature's God. That's uncomfortable. That's embarrassing, right? In the second paragraph, it mentions a creator, capital C. That's embarrassing too. Later on in the concluding paragraph of the Declaration of Independence, I think that one's pretty important. It refers to the supreme judge of the world. It also says divine providence in the Declaration of Independence. And so you have to explain to us in your little world where you think that God is nowhere at all whatsoever mentioned, referenced, or utilized in the founding documents, whose nature is God? What do they mean by creator? Who was the supreme judge of the world? What are they talking about? They didn't have the Supreme Court at that point in time, so what do you think that they meant? Do they mean the queen? Is that what the divine providence is? That's kind of embarrassing. More so, they were so used to talking about God, so used to building their society off of it, that even in the Constitution it talks about the year of the Lord. I know that's nitpicky, but what do you think that means? I know you want to ignore it. No, it's just the way that they did time back in that day. Why did they put it in there? If it has nothing to do with God, right? Time's a pretty important one. Pretty big, run out of time, die, right? Kind of a big thing. So yes, it was showcases throughout all these founding documents, and that's just two of them. Go look at the state constitutions, and when you're done crying, come back and let's have a conversation about it. Here is the issue that I see from a lot of individuals that are typically pro-choice. And if you are someone who's pro-choice, who's able to sit in this conversation and actually contain yourself and use your emotional maturity in real life, I'm going to give you a hint. I'm going to give every pro-choice person out there a hint that's going to help them with their conversations with individuals who are pro-life. Here's the hint. It's really simple and easy. Stop ignoring facts and yet still expect to be heard. Stop doing that, right? You can only do one or the other. It's either no, God bad, not in no, then it's fine. I'm just not going to listen to you, right? Or we got to accept the things that we don't like that make us feel bad on our little bits. And then maybe we can have a conversation. But the reason why you will not do that is because you have no moral grounds for abortion. You have no legal grounds for abortion. You have hopes, wishes, dreams, and fairy dust in your hand, and you're hoping that's going to be enough to let you have this conversation. This is for everybody. If you're going into any conversation with individuals who disagree with you about any of these hot, charged political faith topics, you need to ensure you are capable of addressing the facts. If you just do what she does, which is just, I disagree with that. Fantastic. You can disagree that gravity exists. Doesn't mean that it doesn't exist, right? That's all she has been saying this entire time. And all she's asking is to use her words, secular morality and scientific data. She said that. The audacity. I want to use scientific data and then in the same breath to reject something because there's not 100, she keeps saying it, I don't know why, 100% scientific consensus. let's give you some more since you keep saying that one. Do you believe in the 8 glasses of water a day rule, that you should have a certain amount of water every single day in order to survive? Would you believe me if I told you there wasn't 100% scientific consensus on that? So go ahead and put the glass of water down. Matter of fact, who thinks that breakfast is the most important meal of the day? Did you know there's not scientific consensus on that one either? So go ahead and put the fork down as well. A lot of y'all need to do that anyways. We're getting fat as a country. Okay, fine. Do you believe, are you one of those people that thinks that, you know what? Glass of wine might be harmless and even good for you, right? 1 glass of wine a day, good for your heart health, especially the good red wines. Give a nice little Cabernet Sauvignon, you know what I'm saying? Right? Go ahead and put that glass of wine down. Not 100% scientific consensus. Matter of fact, multitasking at work, not 100% scientific consensus. The idea of having a 40-hour work week, not 100% scientific consensus. Even recycling your plastic, not 100% scientific consensus. So if you're going to sit here and say, I need 100% scientific consensus to adopt something and to accept something in society, don't you dare drive an electric car again. Matter of fact, don't drive a car at all whatsoever. They don't really agree on that one. You shouldn't get a job, by the way. Scientists don't 100% agree that you should get a job in order to survive. A lot of scientists will tell you don't work at all whatsoever, and that's where happiness is at. Matter of fact, you know that sex that you like so much that you just really can't get enough of, so much so that the consequences of that make you want to become a murderer? Stop doing that too. Science doesn't 100% say that that's something that you should do or something that you should enjoy. I'm just saying this is your argument that you keep bringing up every single time someone puts a fact in front of you that destroys your argument. I disagree. Can we stop using that, please? Can I have this conversation on easy mode? Can you just not bring any of your scientifically verified, historically proven, and grammatically accurate arguments against me? I just wanted to come up here and be pretty and talk about how much we should be killing babies. We got one more section we're going to listen to, y'all, and then after that, that's all the time that we're going to have. But before we get into a couple of super chats that came up here, let's start with Eric Remind, $2 super chat. If you don't like the video selection, come to office hours. Absolutely. Individuals who come to office hours, they're just a little slice above the rest. They're the ones that are actively helping us build the garden projects. I typically ask you all, what do you want to do? Right? What are the thoughts that you have? And so, yes, I do highly encourage, if you are an active member who is serving in the garden project, get involved and get in the game. I don't want to hear that you don't like what we're doing when you have not let your voice be heard. We got a $20 super chat from Ali Shazis. Thank you very much for supporting the garden project this morning, ma'am. Said, again, no matter the financial status of a woman, when proven to be pregnant, our healthcare system provides care to a woman. Should that pregnancy end, so does that woman's care. WIC also is included in this care. Say it louder for the people in the back, Alisha. If those children could read, they'd be highly upset right now. Let me keep on going down here to Jessica Zane. $5 super chat. Said, did she throw her own consensus argument out? The second that she mentioned it, she lost this entire conversation. That is probably, that's probably one of the weakest groundings for an argument I have ever heard before, because it's so unbelievably easy to argue against. Either A, you're cherry picking what you want this to apply to. I only want scientific consensus when it comes to my stance so it can defend it. Or you cannot hold this to every single thing across the board. Remember, logic must be applied across the board, not just for what you have to talk about. Last one I have here for $22 super chat from Debbie The Rock 88. I thought you didn't like us anymore, Debbie. I'll be honest with you. I thought you were done with the garden project in the morning time frame. She said, save all babies. No exceptions. Yes. No exception at all whatsoever. A couple of normal chats I did catch my eye on. Jessie said that her voice was so cute, lady in the red dress is what y'all are talking about. For those of you who are on TikTok, who are in that chat that we have, I actually have already written the lady in red. I saw a clip about this debate. I'd never seen the whole thing. I was impressed. So I slid her a message in her DMs over there on TikTok. A few of y'all, I want y'all to do the same thing. I already shared her profile over there. Tell her I said what's up. Tell her we know that I'd love to have her on the show one day. I think that would be fantastic. Let me see here. My man Scoots Monkey, if you were even still in the house, Hopefully you're here to learn something. But he said, if life is valuable to God, he wouldn't spontaneously abort the vast majority of them. See, this is my example here. This is a declarative statement. It's also an inaccurate statement too, but this is a declarative statement. Y'all, this is not someone who is here to learn. This is someone who already has their opinion about something, and they just want to tell us their opinion. That's it. If you had come up here, Mr. Scott's Monkey or Scoots Monkey, I have no idea, right? If you had come up here and said, hey, y'all are Christians, right? Odds are you probably have read the Bible at some point in time, and you yourself obviously have not read it completely if that's the conclusion you came to. Hey, can y'all explain this to me? Like one question mark and like a why changes this around. I probably would have answered it. Hey, host, why is it that if life is valuable to God, he also killed a lot of humanity? That would have been a good question. He did not spontaneously abort the vast majority of them because he did not spontaneously go into their bodies, force them to go sit down with the doctor and make the decision, I want to abort my child. So the question itself is actually not a genuine question. But the question of why did God kill so many individuals, back in the Old Testament especially, why does that happen? Well, here's the actual direct answer. It's an act of love. Let me go deeper into that because I know that probably hit the liberal brain and probably made you hurt a little bit, right? Well, that's God's judgment at the end of the day. See, we have this mentality for some reason. Secular individuals think that, well, I should be able to do wrong as much as I want to, and God should do nothing to me. Nothing to me, right? I want to be able to sleep around with whoever I want to sleep around with. I want to do whatever drugs I want to do. I want to go hurt whoever I want to hurt. I want to steal whatever I want to do. All those things were happening, by the way, back in the Old Testament. And you know what? If he's a loving God, he'll just go ahead and let me do it. He'll never punish me at all whatsoever. And if he does, it better be a slap on the wrist. I don't want it to be a permanent punishment. I don't want it to be a mortal punishment at all whatsoever. You will say that, which is implied by the sentence right here. But then when I ask you to describe what love is, you'll say all the flowers and the rainbows. Well, love is just really just, caring about somebody and the rest. And then when I ask you to explain, is it love if a parent lets their child, in real life, not for play, go out there and be a gang member, sell heroin on the street corner, sleep with all kinds of individuals that they want to sleep with? I'll ask you if that's love. You'd be like, oh my gosh, no. If they were a real parent, they would guide their children in one way, shape, or form, and they wouldn't let them do these things. And they would make the hard decision to punish their children whenever they did something wrong, like beating up somebody at school. HC, how could you ever think that the parent wouldn't love them enough to punish them? I don't know. 2 + 2 = 4 to some people, but some people it does not. Y'all, we're going to keep on diving into the last section over here of the watch party. I hope this is a quick one. If it's not, I'm going to have to cut it off part way through, and it is not a quick one. So we're going to get like 20 minutes into this at most, and then we're going to cut it off, hit a quick prayer, and we're going to get on the way out the door. Mom, it's not, hey, what's up? What are we doing, man? It's been so long since we had a chance to see you. Y'all say good morning to Mom Blaza over here. It's been a long time. Thank you very much. Thank you. I appreciate that. I enjoy being a dad. It's a lot of fun for me, and he is adorable. I'm assuming that's what you meant when you said Daddy looks great on me, and so we're going to go in that direction. Y'all, we're going to get back into it. We're watching Dr. Daft Show, 1 pro-choice versus 20 pro-lifers. Once again, if you want to get a part of that conversation, drop a super chat, super sticker, or read it after the section's over with. Hit the like button. Thank you for being here. Let's watch this next section.
Pro-birth, not pro-life.
Hi, Naima. I'm Danielle.
Hi, I'm Nevaeh Souza.
I'm Heather Lawless.
Hi, I'm Eve.
Hi, Eve. And all of you. Sorry, this is the last name I heard. Okay, so my point: Republicans are pro-birth and not pro-life. I don't think to be a pro-lifer you have to be part of a particular party. Let's establish that first. I know that there are Democrats who are pro-life, right? I know that there's Republicans, MAGA, Nazis, all kind of people. But I do think that specifically the Republican Party, which has kind of claimed an identity of being pro-life, the vast majority of conservative representatives in government claim to be pro-life, have not followed through on that belief based on the legislation that they've created, not only around abortion, but around pretty much every issue. So I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts about that.
Okay, I can go first. Hi, Naima.
Hi.
So I know when I was wrestling with abortion personally in my life, I really didn't care if somebody was on the left or the right when I was dealing with that. I know that I was broke. I was scared. I was unmarried. I felt so alone. I think the biggest thing, we brought up religion, but I think the biggest thing that I didn't know is 2 Timothy, where he says, God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. I wish I would have known at the time. However, what I did notice, though, is that Republicans would lead in supporting pregnancy resource centers that gave formula, that gave wipes, diapers. And like I said, when I was struggling in this personally, I personally went through that. I seen that they led in supporting free wipes, free diapers, free formula, free clothing, free health assistance. Not only that, it's a place in Atlanta called City of Refuge who would help the mother up until her child graduates high school. I also seen Democrats fight aggressively for affordable health care, affordable child care, longer maternity leave. All of these things I feel is very much needed. So I look at Isaiah 1:17, where God says, defend the oppressed. take care of the fatherless. So God knew that it would be the poor among us, like myself at the time, that needed help. And I believe he wanted us all to work together. So I don't believe the viable alternative is to kill innocent human beings, because some people are pro-birth and not pro-life.
Okay, so I'll say it. I've said it once. I'll say it 100 times. I don't think abortion is murder. I think it's the prevention of the development of life, but I don't think it is yet a murder. You brought up something very interesting that I want to talk about, which is pregnancy crisis centers. So those anti-abortion pregnancy crisis centers, they've been popping up all over the country, right? And the issue with those, while I agree that the resources they provide are great, and I'm glad they helped you, the issue with those is a lot of those centers aren't actually medical clinics. So they're not actually run by doctors, right? And conservative lawmakers have basically tried to replace Planned Parenthood, which served a lot of those same needs that you were discussing, with these anti-abortion pregnancy crisis centers. Is another reason why, even if abortion were murder because we decided when life was, I still would be against it. These non-medical clinics have replaced Planned Parenthood, which is a medical clinic, which does help not just get abortions, but actual pregnant women who want to continue in their pregnancy. And they've replaced them. They've been advocating in several states for women to keep non-viable pregnancies, which is a pregnancy in which the fetus is definitively dead.
Are you referring to prenatal hospice?
Yes, I'm referring to prenatal hospice.
That has nothing to do with stillbirths. That's a completely different thing.
Prenatal hospice does have to do with stillbirths, and it has to do with fatal fetal anomalies. So for those watching at home, a fatal fetal anomaly is when a fetus is not viable to sustain life even post-birth, and it will die very shortly thereafter, right?
Yes, a fatal diagnosis as a baby is going to die after birth.
So these pregnancy crisis centers, who have replaced Planned Parenthood, have gotten a lot of conservative funding in states with total and near abortion bans, especially if you look at the state of Indiana, they have a pamphlet that they show any woman with a fatal fetal anomaly, encouraging her to deliver a dying baby. It says in the pamphlet, it's the most meaningful and beautiful thing you might do. I don't think watching your baby die. Fetal hospice is essentially making women a walking coffin.
No, do you know what it offers if you do choose to go with the hospice route?
You have to carry a dying baby to term.
Do you know what they offer you?
A dying fetus to term.
For the women, I personally know women who have had a fatal diagnosis for their baby. It's incredibly heartbreaking and tragic.
It is, which you should have the right to abort.
Exactly, and they do. They do, but do you know why
they
so many women
specifically
choose
not to abort a fatal fetal anomaly?
But yes or no, do you know what they offer?
Disgusting.
Because I can tell you what it is that they offer.
Do you want to say it? Yes, by all means.
So 75 to 80% of couples will choose to go the hospice route because this was a baby they were planning on having. If you go the hospice route, this offers you an opportunity to bathe your baby, hold your baby, take photos. A lot of people do home births with candles, so it's really memorable.
Guys, I'm sorry.
That's your opinion, but have you ever lost a baby?
Right.
Have you ever lost a baby?
That doesn't have if you're in a state, right? There are currently over 14 states that do not have an exception to their pro-life.
Are you judging the parents that choose to do that, though? Because if you've never lost a baby, that's incredibly insensitive of you.
I'm not judging a parent who chooses to do it, but if you're in a state...
Then why is that messed up?
Baby, if you're in a state that doesn't have an exception, then it's not a choice. Women who are delivering children who are 1,000% going to die now don't have a choice. They have to walk around with a dying baby inside of them and deliver that baby, which is a horrific, very traumatic event physically, and then watch that baby die.
Delivering
if the baby is already going to die post-birth, why should they not have the choice to abort it?
Because delivering their baby and getting to say goodbye to their baby and hold their baby and bond with their baby is healthier than killing their baby inside the womb.
But do you believe that should be? It's not killing their baby.
Yes,
it's already going to die.
But it's alive now. It's alive now.
Okay, I'm sorry. Do you believe that it should be a choice to carry a fatal fetal anomaly to term?
I do not believe that a woman should ever have the choice to kill her child.
So how is it pro-life if the fetus is going to die regardless?
Well, you have times...
I want her to answer. I'm sorry, my love. I really want you to answer.
A woman should never have the choice to kill her child.
But how is it pro-life if there is no life?
It is alive.
But it's going to die.
So if you got cancer, should I just kill you now because you're going to die? You might die.
No, but if I had terminal cancer and I wanted to euthanize myself, I wanted to do self-euthanasia, I think that should be a choice.
I disagree with euthanasia also.
I don't think you can force.
All right, we're going to stop right there because we want to get ready to the end of the show here. That was getting into an incredibly ridiculous direction. But y'all, this is what you're going to have to deal with when you have these conversations. When you get out there, you're going to deal with people who, on one hand, desperately expect you to listen to their perspective, not just to listen to it, to acquiesce to it, and to tolerate their perspective. They want acceptance from you. They're not going to address your facts. They don't care about your facts. Let me point out a couple things I saw here in this last portion. So first of all, the prompt was Republicans are pro-birth, not pro-life. I will actually, controversial as this may be, I actually do partially agree with that. I'll explain why in a second. But first of all, she had said that, I know that there's pro-life people everywhere, right? There's Democrats that are pro-life. Incorrect. There's individuals who like the title of being a Democrat. There's individuals who don't want to be associated with the Republican Party. Absolutely. But I will tell you right now that to take that title Democrat and say that you're a Democrat, but you're also pro-life is ridiculous, nonsensical, and it goes against the definition of the word and the standards set by that Democratic Party. Don't believe me? That's fine. Go to the Democratic National Convention, DNC, right? Just Google it. Just type in DNC. You can see on there the DNC and the RNC. I talk about this all the time. We don't have to guess. We don't have to guess about whatever it is that a party believes in. I know an individual candidate might believe in some differences, but the party platform actually has a platform you can read, and it actually has what they stand for. You might know the DNC as the last individuals who put former Vice President Harris up for possibility of being elected. That DNC, the one that happens every single 4 years, that are the ones that serve as the central point for the entire party and everything that they are discussing. That party. Okay, that was my dog, not my baby. Right, so just go look at it. Go look at it, right? That on their words, not my own, they believe in pro-choice. So no, that's not actually true. What you meant to say is there's individuals out there who call themselves Democrat and don't know what that means, who are also pro-life. That's what you mean. Or you mean there's individuals out there that will vote Democrat because they just can't help themselves, but it doesn't mean that they fall into that. So she said abortion is the prevention of life. Y'all heard her say that. This drives home my point. They want you to listen to everything that they say. They want you to agree with everything that they want to do. But my goodness, how many times have we tried to discuss what the definition of life is? She rejects the definition, but at the same time says that it's the prevention of life. How do we reject the definition and can't get to a consensus? You clearly think that you're smarter than the individuals that put together the dictionary, so you have your own little definition for it, and then you can take that and say that abortion is whatever it is. You have no credibility in this conversation. Your definitions of words mean nothing anymore, because if we can't come together and at least agree on a definition, or whoever is an actual source of authority for what those words mean, if you're like, it can mean whatever you want to, you have yourself a nice day. Don't waste your time in a conversation with that person. They're going to try and bring you down to their level of ignorance, and they're going to defeat you with feelings. Don't go down that route. So one thing I noticed is this woman asked her about this concept of fetal hospice. This is for all of you here as believers. This is for somebody who might be sitting down torturing themselves, listening to something that they don't like. Stop having conversations about things you don't know about. Now understand, I did not say stop having conversations about things you haven't experienced. That's two different things. Be careful with that, because you're going to have a lot of these pro-choice ladies screeching at you saying, you're not a woman, so you don't understand. No womb, no opinion. Nope, doesn't work that way. That's life, right? If you want to say it that way, then I don't want to ever hear you talk about black people, because your skin don't look like mine, amen? Right? So, but if you don't know about it though, you got to shut up. You really have to shut up, and sometimes this is hard for us. Sometimes we as believers, we want to go up there because we know what you're saying is wrong, but we can't comfortably prove it, and so then we're no better than these emotional harpies that are out here spreading information because they're upset. Let's not be on that same level, right? This woman said, fetal hospice, it's so awful, it's so ridiculous. And the question that she kept getting asked was, but do you know what they do? Do you know what they offer? She asked her that question 2 or 3 times. Do you know what fetal hospice offers? Because you got their name in your mouth. You're talking about them like they're so awful. It would make no sense if I came up here on this live tomorrow morning and I was like, you know what? Nanny, criminal, felon, she should go to prison the rest of her life. If I have Nanny's name in my mouth like that, I have no articles supporting that she's done any of these crimes. I've never talked to Nanny and heard what she does with her life. I've never talked to Hadassah, lovely as she is, and haven't heard about what her mother has done. I've never been to her house. I've not ate her food. I don't know her neighborhood. I don't even know the street she comes on. I have no right in that situation to talk about Nanny. I should not have Nanny's name in my mouth because I don't know anything about it. So why on God's green earth would you come up here and you would give an argument for slaughtering children to the tune of 30 million of them, and you're hinging your argument on something that you couldn't even Google search? You don't even know what these centers offer. You just have decided that it's gross. And I'm going to continue on this one because she didn't just answer that one, right? More so when she heard about these mothers who did have to have a stillborn or did have to give birth to a child that wasn't going to be viable, right? Anybody ever hear those stories before? They're heart-wrenching. I've known a few women in my life who've had to go through that experience. And she even told this hard-headed woman, like, they sit down and they give you an opportunity to get some candles, some music, right? Take some pictures and the rest. And her response was, and I quote, "I'm sorry, that's effed up," end quote. And when she was asked why, I'm sorry, do you know any experience about this? Do you know anyone who has done this before? Have you yourself gone through this? So you don't understand the emotional strain, but you want us to listen to you about the women who get raped and who are pregnant and you want them to get an abortion. So I should listen to your emotionality, and the only argument you have, by the way, I've never heard a scientific argument about how abortion is healthy for individuals who are molested, incest, or raped. I've never heard a scientific argument of how abortion is supposed to actually help them in the longer term. I've never heard any of those before. You just want me to listen to how horrible it sounds. It's so triggering to hear about a child having to go through assault, right? Just listen to me. Isn't that traumatic? Shouldn't we just kill this child? You want me to listen to you, but when I tell you about an experience that goes against what you're saying, that's also emotional, that's also traumatizing, that also stays with you the rest of your life, to you, you're just like, oh no, that's just messed up. Nope. Haven't experienced it, haven't dealt with it, don't know anybody who's gone through it, and if I haven't told you the answer to that question, you asked me 5 times. No, it's just messed up. And then she ended with this little nugget right here when we press the pause button. It's not killing their baby if it's already going to die. By the definition of the word killing, that is not true. By the legal definition of that word, it is not true. And I know that she got hit with the cancer question at the end. I know that's where we paused it, and that is the correct way to go, by the way, right? It is absolutely the correct way to go. How is it pro-life if the fetus is going to die regardless, was our actual question. So at this point in time, we're doing anything we can to find an excuse to kill a child in the womb. We don't care about scientific rationale. We don't care about logic because hers was all over the place. We don't care about other people's morality. I want you to just follow mine. We don't care about other people's experiences and the pain that they go through. I don't even want to hear about it. I'm just here to tell you about the emotionality behind my decisions. I don't want to hear about your faith. I don't care about the Constitution, nor do I have an understanding of what's actually written there outside of what I believe in. This is the competition that you all will have to deal with. These are not hard conversations to have. Usually you just have to show up and reflect the fruit of the Spirit, and you will be perfectly fine in these conversations. That's how easy they are. Question for you all down here. Give me a thumbs up, a thumbs down. We're going to super chat. We're going to hit some prayer. We're going to get on up out of here. Who feels like after listening to this young lady that you could actually have a conversation, at least a little bit? I'm not saying you're going to be amazing at it, but who feels, thumbs up or thumbs down, that you could at least have some semblance of appropriate apologetic conversation with this woman or with someone like that based off of the challenges that she presented today? I just want to see where y'all are at with the confidence level. If you don't mind, slap those things down there. I do appreciate that, truthfully. While you're putting your thumbs up down there, $111 super chat from my man Jeff at It's Not Your Fault Al Nye Recovery Channel. Thank you very much, Jeff, for supporting the Garden Project today and for the shirts. I have yet to wear the Apache shirt yet. I just can't bring myself to do it quite yet. We're going to get there. It says, it's thou shalt not unalive. That's why you don't have to do that. Here on the Garden Project, you can go ahead and say it. Murder, kill, rape, abortion, cocaine, drugs. I'm not afraid. You ain't going to silence me for talking about the gospel of Jesus Christ. I dare YouTube to do it. The speed in which I will sue them will be unreal. It's not thou shalt not kill. That's why I'm also against the unaliving penalty. I will always err on the side of life. We should talk about that one day. We really should. It's a difference. I don't have time to get into the whole murder versus kill, governing authorities, and the rest. But I do appreciate that, Jeff. I truthfully do. And thank you for being here today. I know you wake up a little bit later in the day. Wise tells me that you got to get your beauty sleep, sir. But For what it's worth, it is working. You're a very handsome man, right? Y'all, thank you very much for being here. I do like the thumbs up that I'm seeing. Thank you all of you for enduring that one. That was not a hard one. That was not a hard one to listen to. If anything, I'm actually more embarrassed for the young lady who was on the pro-choice side because I didn't hear her. I'm trying to be objective here. Let me think for a second. I did not hear her effectively argue against any of the points made from the pro-life side. I'm trying to go through all of the ones that I heard. I do believe some of the arguments could have potentially been a little bit stronger, but they weren't bad. They really weren't. Yeah, I don't think that she did a good job in that one. I truthfully don't. Just trying to set my own biases aside, just on a debate standpoint, just looking at one side versus another side, outnumbered, that part I don't really like. Right, but I didn't hear her really respond with anything. She had a lot of throwaway lines, no scientific consensus. You can tell she has never been pressed on that before. When you hear somebody come up there and say something so incredibly confident that is so objectively wrong, you know they have not been truthfully pressed on it before. Because she don't say that after having a conversation with me, and if she does, she knows that she's wrong, right? There's no scientific consensus. Sweetheart, we don't go off of scientific consensus for pretty much anything in this life. I'm just being honest with you. There will always be at least one scientist that does not agree. 8 billion people on this planet. Are you serious right now? Right? You mean to tell me that nowhere, no how, in any way, shape, or form, no scientist was just like, I'm going to disagree just for the sake of disagreeing? That's honestly, of everything that she said during this one, Nanny, I know you're the one that put this in front of me first. Out of everything that came out of her mouth, that was the most ridiculous thing that she said. To hinge your argument on science doesn't agree is insane to me. We don't go off of proof for anything. And I know that there's somebody down there's like, this guy's crazy. He doesn't believe in proof. You don't believe in proof. You're just using that word casually because you've never been taught differently. You have no proof, none, that the sun is going to come up tomorrow. None. If you actually did have proof of that, you'd be rich beyond your wildest imaginations. You understand that. I have no proof that Amy's going to be in this studio tomorrow morning for TGP in the morning. I got no proof of that. I have evidence that she will. I would be willing to wager a buffalo nickel if I was the type that she will. But proof? Imagine how brave you have to be to say, I can prove to you that something is going to happen. You know what? Just for spite, I hope that God hits you with an asteroid before she shows up tomorrow morning. Who do you think you are? But clearly these individuals think that they are God. They certainly want to play God. They certainly want to kill children like they're God. They certainly want to talk as if they are declarative in all that they say. They want you to stop talking about what you believe in. That's a bold thing that she said. Stop voting on behalf of your faith. What? How about you stop voting on behalf of yours? That's right. You have faith too. You assume that faith means religion because you have not cracked open a dictionary in the last 10 years of your life and because you have not been properly taught. Faith does not mean it must be in our God. Faith just means that you put your belief in something. You all have faith. You have faith that the plane's not going to crash when you get into it. You have faith that your parents are not going to crash when you were a child in the back seat. You have faith that the individuals actually did put the right ingredients on the bottle and they're not poisoning you. You have faith that that toilet is indeed going to flush after you had Taco Bell. You have faith in so many things throughout your entire day. Y'all, we got to make sure when we're having these conversations, words have meaning, so do historical facts. Be willing to look them up, and when you come up with somebody who's just like, no, I don't believe you, prove it to them, and this is the big one for all my TikTokers out there. If it is your platform, obviously be careful, read the room. Stop letting them dance away from it. This is why I couldn't be in this 1v20. I'd be like, I believe I asked you a question. What do you go off in your life that has 100% scientific consensus? That's where we're staying. We're not going anywhere else until we answer that question. Y'all, thank you very much for being here. I hope that you did enjoy the show. We're going to do a general prayer here just in the interest of time. I'm really trying to end on time and trying to be more specific with that. I don't want to be like somebody in the Navy, so we're going to try and do it the right way if that's okay with you. Quick $10 super chat on the way out the door here from Dylan McClung 10. I do appreciate you, sir. Late to formation. That's why we have push-ups. Son had to have x-rays on his ankle yesterday. Going back for MRIs. Goodness, what did he do to himself? When swelling goes down, so it was a long night. No excuse. I'll get my push-ups in. God bless y'all, family. Dylan, thank you for letting us know, sir. Hopefully you and Steven are still linking up. I appreciate you being here today, and hopefully your son is okay. Y'all, if we can safely do so, please close your eyes, bow your heads, and join your brothers and sisters in Christ across the nation this morning. That was rough. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this blessed Wednesday, halfway through the week, Father, and we are not rushing that process. Father, we wish to be in each and every single moment with you. We wish, Father, to be still and to accept that you are Lord. Father, we ask that you be there for the many individuals in this nation who are on the path of damnation, who are enjoying their sin, Father, who want others to enjoy their sin as well. The individuals who would rather cling to ideology that separates them from salvation, that separates them from you, and instead are leaning into falsities. Father, we ask that wisdom be the guiding light for these individuals in this nation, and also bravery, Father, for them to be brave enough to accept a very difficult and hard truth, that everyone, believer or otherwise, does the work necessary to get on that path or stay on that path of righteousness. Father, for the members who are here, I ask that you bless them as they go out into their day. For their family members, Father, I ask that you uplift them as well. For anyone here who is dealing with sickness, hardship, loss, heartache, pain, financial struggles, or woes, Father, I ask that you bless them abundantly. I ask that you remind them that you are still here, that the King is still on the throne, that you uplift everyone here to be able to assist their brothers and sisters and those who don't even believe with their lives to reflect our faith, Father, to let our light shine. And for those individuals who are tremendously blessed, as we all are, who have joy in their hearts as they go away from this conversation, we thank you, Father, and we ask that humility be their guide. Father, as we go into this week, I ask that the nation of the United States of America remains calm as we hear a couple of choice verdicts, as we go into new news, that we don't let sensationalism drive us down, but instead we remain grounded, we remain still, and we stay in prayer. In Jesus' mighty name we pray. All God's people say amen and amen. Y'all, on the way out the door, if I have not directly called you out by name and said good morning to you, acknowledge your existence, said I love you, or anything in between, go ahead and slide that hand up for me real quick so I can make sure that I do that. That is still highly important to me, that I get an opportunity to do that and say hello to each and every one of you, because I have no idea what kind of day you are having or what kind of day you're going to have. In the meantime, if you did decide to give to the Garden Project today, I do greatly thank you, and I want you to know that your donations are significantly helping our operations. So we do truthfully show gratitude for the fact that of all the places you could have decided to tithe, give, or donate, you decided to support us. To the Amy Eddies, to the Jessica Zanes, to the Eric Ramines, to the Ali Shasees, to the Debbie The Rock, to the Jeff at Not Your Fault, It's Not Your Fault, Alan Ivy Recovery Channel, and from Dylan McClung, God bless you all. Thank you very much for deciding to give today. I am grateful the Spirit led you in that direction. Angela Montgomery from New Jersey, God bless you, ma'am. Good morning to you. Why don't I ever get you in the morning time, Angela? It's like you don't like being up in the morning with us. It hurts my feelings, ma'am. I'm just kidding. God bless you. Thank you for being here today. Professor Sonny at 5:59 and 56 seconds over on the Pacific West Coast. Thank you very much, ma'am, for joining us today. Ginger and the Juice in the house. I saw you down there cutting up and acting a fool. I absolutely appreciate that, man. Puts a smile on my face today. Hopefully you are blessed. Hopefully I will see you tomorrow. We got Michael Veron in the house, the Marine himself. I like the comments that you had during the conversation. I was keeping an eye on those. I do appreciate your takes. Absolutely, by the way. Stay convicted and never be ashamed of the gospel of Jesus Christ. We have the Georginian who got banned yesterday. She is back today, and she is going to behave herself today so she doesn't accidentally get put on timeout one more time. Sister, I like seeing you today. Hopefully you can make office hours today or tomorrow so we can catch up on some stuff. And then we got Ma Blaze coming back over here. God bless everyone. Have a blessed day. Thank you all very much. I don't think I missed any. I got a few I missed down here. Let me keep on going down. We got Wealthy Self in the house, 26 with the honey. God bless you, ma'am. Thank you for joining us today. Hopefully we're feeling right as rain. Hopefully we're ready for this wonderful hump day. We got B. Hey, where you been at, B? I thought that you had gone to Cuba. I thought you were gone. I thought you were on vacation, never coming back to us. Well, God bless you, B. Thank you very much for being here, ma'am. Please understand that ARP is not quite the same without you. They run amok over there. I'm sure Nanny will tell you about it. God bless you, ma'am. Thank you for joining us today. Truthfully, you honor us with your presence here today. I think I got everybody in here, so I'm going to go ahead and get on up out of here. Y'all, we still have the Be Ye Holy Ender up here because time is a construct, and I don't have a whole lot of it. We will be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time with more ridiculousness, more opportunities to learn, more opportunities to grow. As a reminder to everyone here, we are doing our evaluations on Friday. We're going to pick our third person for that evaluation today. So hopefully that individual is ready, whoever they are, and we will have a good time with it. We will continue to do our fundraising on Friday as well. So for those of you who are trying to figure out how you can help, how you can get involved, that's one way to do it. I will leave you with Proverbs chapter 8, verse 1. Does not wisdom cry out? Does not understanding raise her voice? I have been your host, AT, and we are the Garden Project. See you tomorrow.
who dwells in the secret place of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty, where the night is kind and blessed. Under his wings I find my rest, covered by feathers of peace. No terror by night, no arrow by day, only the quiet of his release. He is my refuge, my fortress true, my God in whom I trust. Angels are watching the hours through, till morning light is just. Under his wings I find my rest, covered by feathers of peace. No terror by night, no